Hello there everybody, how the devil are we all? I am alive, but at what cost? I ask you. How you getting on? Yeah, it's Sunday Fun Day. As you can tell by the incredibly animated nature of my voice. This is the voice and the semblance of happiness which has caused the great amount of success we've had on this channel. Get there. Anyway, hello there, everybody. We're going to be watching some award-winning journalism. It will be fucking painful. It always is. My volume is low. Well, I will turn myself up then. Hopefully that is slightly louder, but I can't promise that. Hello from YouTube chat. Hello there, a cat on YouTube. We are fans of your work. Cats generally, I think. Anyway. Yes. Hello. Is this an anti-pegging stream? No. I mean, literally it says, I pegged Ronald Reagan. So, clearly we're very much pro-pegging. We're fine with pegging. We're not pegant. Anyway, hello there, everybody. Anyway, yes, so we're going to be watching some award-winning journalism with Laura Kuenssberg talking to you know, the Chancellor of the Exchequer about why she's such a monumental prick. It's an anti-Reagan stream, definitely. Ronald Reagan. Can we get some lols in chat for Ronald Reagan still being dead? Honestly, he's on a fucking losing streak. Hilarious. Anyway, yeah, we're going to be chatting with No Justice of the MTGs and going through the ways in which Britain is truly fucked. Like, properly fucked. So, there's that. Anyway, if you wanted to financially assist me in my pro-pegging and anti-Reagan stances, you can hit the follow button, you can subscribe with Amazon Prime, you can give subs to the community, you can do bits messages, you can do super chats via the Streamlabs link below. I've got Patreon and PayPal, I've got Blue Sky, TikTok, Instagram, Discord, Threads, Twitter, something else. No, don't go to the Twitter. Twitter's garbage. Threads, Blue Sky. I've got an Instagram. Very rarely use it. You can go there though if you wanted to. And if you're on YouTube, along with a cat on YouTube, you can what else can you do? You can subscribe to this channel for free. You can thumbs up the video. You can drop a nuclear bomb on the thumbs up button if you wanted to. You can become a member for 99 pence, or indeed gift memberships to the community, and you can do super chats, which I will read out, especially if they're very offensive. Hello there, Helena. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thanks. Kev, how you doing?
I'm alive, and I sometimes wonder why.
I mean, at the very least, I'm also alive as well.
All right, there's no need to flex. There's no need to flex.
At least that means we're doing a lot better than Thatcher.
That is true. Well, ironically, we've been doing some cross-Atlantic, let's say transatlantic, mocking of dead 1980s leaders. Because I literally led into this with laughing at Ronald Reagan being dead. Because my starting meme today is just something I saw on the internet and thought was funny, and it's just in the Barbie font it says, "I pegged Ronald Reagan and he liked it."
I don't want to do this anymore.
Absolutely true. I have this is true, right? Both. I mean, obviously Nancy being who she is, and Ronald Reagan being who he is. That's definitely a very true story.
They honestly, together, they may have been the best combined couple skill at taking it.
Yeah.
Frankly, I mean, they are the best takers.
A real power bottom couple.
Literally, very much so. God bless. Yes, thank you to Segway to Ant for subscribing with Prime.
Thank you, Ron, for the 5 gifted.
Well, okay, you don't need to tell me this. Segway's also put, I gave my last one to Helena. So you're basically saying I've stolen a Prime from Helena. Which, Doc, you didn't need to mention that. It's not a contest.
Or I was stealing a Prime from you, and it's now going back to its rightful place.
That is also a possibility, but I suggest probably not. Just on the numbers, playing the numbers game, almost certainly not.
So Wide Bleak asks, if the Chancellor is going to cut civil service workers in the thousands, is that true? Yes, that is absolutely true. The civil service budget is being slashed by 15%.
Well, I was about to say, when you say, is she going to cut civil service workers, like, is she, I mean, like with a samurai sword?
You're literally going to shank him.
Yeah.
Shank him up good.
To be honest with you, that might be more humane than what they're actually planning to do, I think. To just kill them. Put them out of their misery. 15% cuts. Literally, like, the fucking... Oh, my God. The Nigel Farage's plan was for 5% cuts, wasn't it?
It was, I guess, across all government departments.
Yeah. So like this is 3 times worse, at least in regards to civil service, which, you know. And they're not going to get rid of the real wankers anyway, because they're set for life. So it's just going to be like frontline people and people we actually need. It's not going to be the mandarins, is it? Which, by the way, sounds very racist. And it almost certainly comes from a racist etymological place. But it just means like a person who's a big deal, a big cheese,
Right.
is referred to as a mandarin.
I've never heard that turn of phrase before.
Really? Oh, okay. Well, you clearly don't read Private Eye enough.
True.
Which is a failing on your part. Tish tish. Anyway, thank you, a cat on YouTube, who says, here is 2 kitty dollars. Technically, it's plural, so here are 2 kitty dollars. Just, I don't want to, I shouldn't be a grammar Nazi to people who are being generous to me, but I will be.
Is that even feasible? I know they're running on a skeleton crew as it is. Well, not if you watch any of the media. If you'd been watching the media rounds, you'd be under the understanding that we have an incredibly bloated, inefficient, and completely unserviceable civil service. You know, it's completely overcooking the pudding, apparently.
Well, someone asks, I think, the very pertinent question in my chat. Is the UK therefore getting its own Doge? And basically, yes. And I'll tell you for why. Literally, the McSweeney Politburo have come up with what they're calling Operation Chainsaw. Literally, which is named after the Elon Musk thing where he held up Malay's chainsaw. Because they're literally going to do the same fucking thing. So literally, yes, we are actually getting a kind of Doge. But from people who are even less interested in it.
Yeah, literally. Imagine doing something because you think, well, voters might like this, rather than because you have any actual ideological impetus to do so.
And the electors don't want this. They don't have a mandate for it, and there's no actual interest in it.
Yep.
It's fucking absurd. Like, they're taking a chainsaw to civil service, but they're also taking a chainsaw to their polling numbers. Like, no one wants this, really. Outside of Nigel Farage. But, like, they're not voting for you. Why are you trying to win over people who cannot be achieved, cannot be reached? Jesus Christ.
All of it is just, it smacks of desperation, you know?
Well,
they're just, to me.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been flailing so fucking miserably in government that they're looking for any kind of, like, story to tell. Basically, they need a narrative. What is this government? What does it stand for? What does it do? So they've just gone neoconservatism.
Literally.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay,
yeah. Martin Arles calls it a change saw. Apparently, that's what it is.
Yes, it's a change saw because Baldrick told me so. I'm voting for change.
You're voting for change. Oh no! I think J. Lewis is right as well. Keir Starmer and the government might be facing the Equality and Human Rights Commission over the benefit policy cut.
Good, yeah. They fucking should.
Well, it literally does discriminate against the young. Like, they apparently think that young people just don't become disabled.
No, yeah, disabilities don't kick in until you're 22. Yeah, fact.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I mean, just the scummiest government. Like, I felt less terrible being fucked by the Tories. It genuinely did. It felt less appalling. Because it's not... Also, what it didn't have was the sting, the kind of underlying insult to the injury of having me being done by a party called the Labour Party.
I know, right? That's what's the worst part, isn't it?
The party of Bevan and Keir Hardie. That's where Keir comes from, after all. Why
we call him Keith? He is not worthy of the name.
Well, exactly so. And all of those amazing people who stood on the fucking front lines of pickets with literal guns pointed at them. And now it's being led by this corporatist suit briefcase wankstain.
Literally.
God, it hurts.
Anyway. Apparently, and also, apparently Labour are thinking of sending migrants to Bosnia after going on about Rwanda.
Yeah,
apparently,
Rwanda 2 Electric Boogaloo, yes.
Although the difference here is that the Rwanda plan was literally every single person who arrived via irregular means. As far as I'm aware, the Bosnia stuff, that's only applying to failed asylum seekers, people who don't
Right,
have
but
a legitimate asylum claim.
yeah, some of the details might be slightly different, but fundamentally, the policy option of let's outsource and offshore a problem, because again, these aren't people, these are problems, right? These aren't human beings that need to be dealt with any level of decency or humanity. No, these are statistics that need to be dealt with by rubber sniffing dogs or whatever, or just sinking and dying, frankly. Because that's continuing to happen. That's fine. They don't give a fuck about any of that. So yeah, it's basically fundamentally the same thing. They've looked at the same problem from the same perspective because they are the same government and come up with basically the same plan, but with the delightful sort of almost perfectly Starmer-esque advantage of, because the flights are slightly smaller, or slightly shorter, I should say, slightly less, carbon emissions. So it's fine, actually.
Oh God, it's just that's also depressing, isn't it?
It's pathetic. It's pathetic and dangerous, and it's just a Tory government. I mean, I don't know how else you can possibly view it otherwise. And again, the annoying thing is, we're being led down the path by these backbench wankers who are like, they have their concerns over these cuts, and they're going to vote for it anyway.
Literally, I've sent a strongly worded letter to the Department of Work and Pensions. They have responded by sending me a bag full of shit set on fire, and I feel like my concerns have been adequately addressed, and will therefore be voting for the bill.
Yeah. Look, I don't know if you've been following much of the Gary stuff online.
Oh my God, I've followed so much of it now.
It's been
driving me
amazing.
up to a fucking wall.
It's been amazing. Well, for me, it hasn't been dry. I think it's a fantastic thing. For those who don't know, Gary Economics is a superb channel and has released a book, and you may have seen him bitch slapping Piers Morgan recently, which was nice. Anyway, he's got a regional accent, so naturally the classism comes spewing forth, and he's arguing in favour of, a basic wealth tax in order to prop up any semblance of, quality of life for the people here. And so the right wing are out in force against him, and to me, it just sums up perfectly the old adage of, if you're getting so much flack, you're above the target. He's, I think, doing sterling work in a way that few people on the British left have been able to do for quite some time, really. Since Corbyn, really, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. He's reaching people with a message that's not jumbled up in jargon, which seems to be my problem, I guess. But he seems to be reaching people on every kind of the level that they need to be reached on to try and get people understanding. And the worst part, of course, is that so much of the response to him, the reason why it's frustrating me is everyone says, he doesn't have any solutions, no solutions. He's just doom pilling you. And I'm like, he is asking you to go out and join political parties and to join trade unions and to engage in collective action. But these fucking crypto bro wankstain chuckle fucks they got such little understanding of the idea of what collective action might even look like. They literally cannot conceive of a solution that Gary's saying, he's just suggesting lie down and rot. He's suggesting don't do anything. He's just suggesting that you can't succeed and you can't bother trying. Even though he explicitly said that having a personal level of ambition to be able to succeed is something that he would absolutely want to welcome in people. But that's not good enough when the system doesn't facilitate the ability for everybody to get on rather than for a few people to get on, Well, and they're so individualism pilled. They just don't even engage with the idea of joining a fucking trade union.
Well, this is the thing. Anyone who says he doesn't have any answers isn't listening or doesn't want to listen, right? Yeah. Is just lying to you, frankly. He's suggested several things like joining political parties, joining trade unions and stuff like that. And, of course, he has policy prescriptions as well. So, and by the way, apologies for the shouty cunts outside my fucking house! Pricks. Sorry. Yes.
The dulcet tones of Birmingham Selly Oak.
Unbelievable. Well, technically I live in Birmingham Selly Oak, the constituency, but I don't live anywhere near Selly Oak because it's gerrymandered to fuck. Yay!
It's true.
Literally 2 different bus routes to get from one end of the constituency to the other. That's not real. Anyway. Yeah, maybe you can't hear them move, fair enough, but I can fucking hear them, and it irritates me. These fucking arrogant cunts. It is past 9 o'clock on a school night. Shut the fuck up. Anyway. Where was I? I've forgotten. Oh yeah, he has policy prescriptions as well in terms of like a wealth tax and stuff. So look, there are plenty of answers being offered up. And also you got to bear in mind, he's a guy in his 20s who does YouTube videos from his fucking kitchen. He's offering better options than the actual, Chancellor of the Exchequer, perhaps. Yeah.
That's what's it's just frustrating because I just want to get these people to shake them and realize, because they're literally, again, they're just so the kind of bought in wholesale on this hustle culture, grind set, Sigma mindset, whatever the fuck it's called nowadays. They just can't even conceive of the idea that there might be a policy solution to these things.
Yeah. Sorry, Jess Phillips is not my MP. No, Jess Phillips is a neighbouring constituent MP. I can't remember which one she represents now. I don't know. Possibly something like Northfield or... No, she's the other direction, isn't she? I can't remember. Anyway. Hall Green? Possibly? Anyway.
I forget. I should...
But she's
Yardley.
Birmingham Yardley, there you go. Which, by the way, I don't know why it's called Birmingham Yardley when it's Yardley Wood is the area. Anyway, fucking who cares? She's going to lose her seat anyway, so who gives a fuck?
Yeah, but it's probably some very, very tedious person from the WPB, but we'll see.
Well, possibly, but they can't literally be any worse, can they?
True.
Like, as bad as they are, and they're probably, they are... Let's be honest. The party with connections to George Galloway, who's just been fucking rimming the arsehole of the Tates, it's not great. Let's not pretend otherwise. But in terms of their policy prescriptions and the shouty cunts are back, for the policy prescriptions they have to be better. Sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And there are plenty of people in that party who don't agree with George Galloway on those prescriptions, right?
Yeah. Well, exactly, yeah. You don't have the right to talk. About being shouty? Well, yeah, but to be fair, I'm shouting in response to them. I mean, they probably can't even fucking hear me when my windows aren't open, but, Anyway, let's not get into it. Right. Shall we get into some award-winning gerbalism?
Let's go. Let's do it.
Awesome. We've got Laura Koonsberg, dickhead. Rachel Reeves, dickhead. Mal Stride, dickhead, but at least he's got his tie on the right way around today. Let's go!
Cuts and crucial choices. It's the Chancellor's big day on Wednesday. So Rachel Reeves is here as she prepares to unveil her big decisions in the spring statement. The Conservative who wants her job, Mel Stride, joins us too. It's a huge day for both of you on Wednesday. How do you get ready for a big event like that, Rachel?
Well, I've spent most of this weekend in the office.
How'd you get ready for it? What the fuck are you doing? This is award-winning journalism. Now, I know this is like the fluffy bit at the start, but how do you get ready for that? Well, I wake up and have a shit. What do you mean, how do I get fucking ready? Why are you asking that question? It's so banal.
Did you not see the podcast? Did you not hear about the podcast?
No, go on.
Oh, the BBC literally did like a whole ass podcast episode just about just to provide fluff for Rachel Reeves. Literally, they did just that. An hour's worth of Rachel Reeves fluff.
Amazing. Don't you love the Fourth Estate? Aren't they fucking awesome?
Fearless Fourth Estate.
There's lots and lots of cups of tea. Someone in the team brought in homemade biscuits yesterday, so that was definitely a boost in the afternoon.
Will that be sweetening the pill? Mel Stride, how are you getting ready? One of your first big days in the Commons on Wednesday?
Yeah, it is a big day, Laura. So
He still hasn't... Mate, you are experienced enough to tie a tie properly. That's still shoddy. It's the right way round today, but that is not acceptable. You know what? I didn't think I'd engage in this question seriously, but how you should get ready, Mel Stride, is to learn to do your fucking tie properly.
It's definitely very much year 9.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's how a school kid ties his tie. A Windsor knot is not that difficult, and it's much neater. I know it's sort of poncy, but it's a much neater tie. You want to be Chancellor of the Exchequer, learn to tie a tie properly. How are you possibly going to asphyxie wank yourself to death if you're not going to tie your tie properly?
And like, I mean, at the very least, right, if you're going to be a bum in Parliament, you know, at least, you know, own it, you know, at least own it like Corbyn did, you know, at least say, you know, I just wear my mum's jumpers into Parliament, who gives a shit, and here to represent the people, right?
Yeah.
But the Tories, they talk good game about being the sensible party, you know, they talk good game about being, you know, the people who represent the aristocracy. And if you're going to do that, if you're going to be fucking filthy rich like you are, then you can learn how to, you've got plenty of spare time.
Yeah.
To be able to learn how to tie your tie properly, and you're the one who tries to pretend that these things matter as much as everybody else thinks that they do, you know? So, you know, you at least buy into it yourself.
Also, he's got slightly stretchy earlobes, I've just noticed.
He does, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's a bit weird. Maybe he had some fucking keloid situation back in the day. Who knows?
Very big day for Rachel, but the disadvantage I have is I don't know the numbers yet, and I won't know them until Rachel tells me across the dispatch box, so it'll be a bit last minute in that sense, unless she wants to give them to me after the show, of course, in which case we'll all be happy.
I've been in that position for several years, Mel, so
Well, it
I
doesn't
feel
work
your
like
pain.
that, does it? Doesn't work like
Well,
that.
maybe we'll try and get some things from her to make it easier.
Honestly, seeing them be this chummy makes me wish that cancer was more widespread. I'm just saying, you know?
For you
All
on
right.
Wednesday. Let's
Very
see. We'll be with you both later in the show. It is a big moment for the economy. So the Lib Dems finance chief, Daisy Cooper, joins us too. And
she's in the
This
rain.
evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home.
Oh, did you see that Bellend getting fucking absolutely rinsed by Konstantin Kissin of all people?
Which one?
Well, Boris Johnson.
Oh, in what context?
Did you not see? Oh, he went on the trigonometry thing, didn't he?
Oh yeah, I did. We did watch. We watched a bit of it on stream. Them talking about their immigration policy.
Yeah.
And it was just, what's funny, right, is that Boris Johnson made like the basic statement that, you know, like, well, immigration had to be that high because, you know, we had to deal with the fact that we owed the Afghans after they fought for us in Afghanistan, and there was Ukraine and Hong Kong, and they were just like, no, you get all the immigrants. And I was just like, even if Boris Johnson can't even defend, you know, the basic kind of premise of the asylum system and the right of people to be able to access it, then, you know, that everything's fucked.
Also, if you wanted to pay back the Afghans for all they'd done to us, or done for us, I should say, maybe you wouldn't have prioritised your mate's dogs on the last flights back when we were escaping desperately from Kabul. You fucking... You fucking horny haystack cunt. Shut up.
5 years ago to the day, everything changed. We will remember and look back at that scary spring back in 2020. Our team at the desk for the next 60 minutes, Sacha Lord, clubbing supremo, who speaks for that huge part of the economy, Anila Anwar, the boss.
Clubbing? Clubbing supremo. Did I hear right?
Seal clubbing, clearly.
Well, that's look at him. Imagine if you walked into a club and you saw him. Good God.
Of an anti-poverty charity, and Robert Buckland, who was in the cabinet back in that spring of 2020. Welcome to you all.
Did he lose his seat?
Yeah, I think his seat got abolished, and he had to run somewhere else. Because I think I remember seeing him being beaten by the Labour candidate in a seat that was unexpected for them too. But obviously, it was the.
Yeah. It's difficult to know because so many of them jumped ship before, so it's difficult to be like, you got wrecked, because they could have just been a coward instead. Who knows?
Yes, indeed so.
Morning. Let's start, as we always do, with what's making the news today. And no surprise, it's chock-a-block with helpful advice for Rachel Reeves. The Sunday Times asks the big question, can she fix it? With a picture of a smiling Chancellor laying bricks. The Sunday Telegraph says
Sure she is.
cuts to the civil service. The Observer says we'll all be worse off by the end of the decade. But The Independent suggests Rachel Reeves should look at getting rid of the triple lock, that guarantee of pensioner incomes. And the BBC is also leading.
Thank you, Jack, for the $4.99. It was a scary 2020 indeed. We had the biggest transfer of wealth for the rich ever. Very, very true.
With cuts to the civil service. Let's then get into it. It's a huge week for the economy. It's been struggling. The numbers look grim and worse since Labour got...
Yeah, it's Sunday newspapers, and apparently there's no genocide happening. So it did need to mention that anywhere. In any
No,
of the
it's just-
papers, fine, normal.
Then if you saw that the Israeli government have just given the go-aheads to create the Ministry of Gaza and Immigration, which is eerily similarly named to the exact same department that was in Nazi Germany for the Center for Jewish Migration.
Yeah.
Literally, just, we are deporting you. Please do not resist.
Yeah.
in, Sasha. From your point of view, with contact with a huge part of the industry, of our industry, what is the biggest problem?
I'll be honest with you, I was at the Labour Party manifesto launch that was in Manchester, and the party said they were the party of business and growth. My sector's hospitality. We're the 5th biggest sector in the whole of the UK, the 3rd largest employer. And actually we are hurtling towards a double cliff edge now with the NI increase and the business increase as well, the business rates increase. Just to put that into perspective, with the business rates increase on an average pub, you'd have to sell another 60,000 pints every single year. 97% of people have now stalled any investment. So to say it's the party of business and growth, I doubt it.
So you feel that they've actually made it harder for you since they've been in office?
Absolutely.
Anila, what about you? Because obviously the context to all of this is last week. We talked about it a lot last Sunday. The government announced pretty big cuts to many people on welfare's income. So what is your concern about what's going on?
I mean, 6.5 billion of cuts to social security, making 1 million or more disabled and ill people worse off. People who are already struggling to make ends meet. 3/4 of people in receipt of universal credit and a disability payment already cannot afford the essentials. And further cuts are just going to make them poorer and not going to move them any closer to the labour market. And our clients, actually, they want to know why the Chancellor is punishing them for the challenges that we're experiencing with our economy and where they should go for support when their income is cut by over 60%.
OK, well, we can put that to her in a few minutes' time. I mean, Robert, you were in the Cabinet for a long time for a different party, of course. But if you look at what this...
Is it a different party?
You always got a different name and a different colour rosette. That must be different, right?
Yeah, no,
That's what it is, right? The different team. The different team is in charge now.
They had slightly different vibes, didn't they? I seem to
Literally.
recall. Yeah.
this government's doing, it almost sometimes seems
It's
they're
important
making
to
everybody
understand that,
unhappy.
you
They're
know.
upsetting businesses like
It's
Sasha.
because the blue team do awful things whilst smiling, and the red team do the same awful things whilst looking very, very sad.
And I feel, oh, you know what? That's nice. I appreciate that.
They're upsetting people that Anila represents and tries to support. What's going on?
Well, look, I think the Chancellor's going to tell us the world has changed. She's going to be right when she says that. But that's an opportunity, I think, politically and economically, to really give us an overarching narrative of why difficult decisions are being made. We understand they've got to be made, but let the British people in on the secret as to...
Because you're all evil bastards. That is why the decisions are being made.
Yep, pretty much.
Why we've got to make these changes. Defence spending clearly has to go up. There are huge pressures on public
Imagine being a Welsh Tory. Imagine that. Seriously.
I mean, it's funny. As a Welsh Tory, his seat was in fucking Swindon. It was very funny to me.
Of course,
You know,
that's
just like
right.
how all the Welsh MPs are all people from England because they've been people parachuted in for the Labour Party. And all the
Unbelievable.
people who are Welsh or MPs, half of them are all Tories who've moved into seats in England because they can't win in Wales.
Yeah.
services, those unprotected departments like my old one in Justice. What's going to happen there? Let's explain why, as, dare I say, my old friend George Osborne did to some effect back in the...
Arrest my case.
Literally, here's Robert Buckland saying, well, I understand Rachel Reeves has to do these things. It's good she has to do these things. And maybe it would go down a little bit easier with the public if she explained it in the same way as George Osborne, who's basically the same person.
Yeah. Yeah.
early part of his government.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how Rachel Reeves responds to any comparisons, because there are people on the left of the Labour Party saying Labour's going to usher in a new era of austerity. Let's see what she has to say when Rachel...
Just because they're literally planning to do that. Yeah.
Yep.
Literally, like, immiserating the poorest in society. and cutting 15% from the administration. Brilliant. Yeah, fantastic. Well done.
It's good, isn't it? It's nice, isn't it, the choir?
It is. It's nice, isn't it? The chainsaw, literally, and I love that because it just so perfectly sums up the hollowness of the Otto English thing. Because literally, the thing that they're doing is called chainsaw, the opposite, the loudest thing imaginable.
Just the total opposite of quiet.
It's nice, isn't it? The blistering noise.
Rachel Reeves moved into number 11. The economy had already taken a battering. There were big debts and big problems, but nearly 9 months on, there are still big debts and some new big problems. A White House that might, well, who knows, bleak economic predictions in much of the world, and a squeeze on welfare that's been alarming parts of the Labour Party.
There is nothing moral about...
I'm still loving the Diane Abbott, I'm protected because you fucked it up so badly, so I'm just going to say whatever I want arc.
Oh my god, yeah.
Is my
Queen shit.
literally, like, I had to retweet her the other day. Where are we? I might have to scroll back a little bit because it was 2 or 3 days ago. But yeah, she tweeted out a thing that, like, there's no way anyone else in the Labour Party could get away with saying this without being, like, instantly thrown the fuck out.
Yeah,
Where is
absolutely.
she?
Getting the SCG treatment.
Literally. I did retweet it. Oh, fuck. Anyway, basically she was saying it's not the fault of the disabled and it's not the fault of this and that and the other. It's the government. Which, like...
My boss is the problem.
Yeah. Is literally true, but there we go.
Cutting benefits for what may be up to 1 million people.
I'm always conscious that with central banks we're always accused of saying the world's uncertain, but it really is uncertain.
I always say tariffs is the most beautiful word to me in the dictionary.
Rachel Reeves, you are cutting welfare, you're cutting spending, you're cutting regulation. Are you really a Labour Chancellor?
No.
Well, first of all, let me just take this head on. In the last Parliament, it was the worst Parliament ever.
So she's not even going to pretend. She's not even going to say, yes, I'm a Labour Chancellor. Even if it's just a lie, she's not even going to pretend. I'm just going to answer a different thing.
She knows she's not. Again, this is the same Rachel Reeves who cried on the Political Thinking podcast about the idea that people would call her a red Tory.
God almighty.
For living standards, and although the previous government taxed more, people were paying more and getting less in return. Since I became Chancellor almost 9 months ago, we've been able to increase the national living wage, and so people on the national living wage will be getting a pay rise of £1,400 a year from next month. We've reduced NHS waiting lists for 5 months in a row because when we increased taxes in the budget on the wealthiest and on businesses, we put that money into our NHS to get those waiting lists down. And from April, we'll be rolling out free breakfast clubs at primary schools to help work.
60 pence a piece, let's go!
Absolutely. The 60 pence per child is the funding that's allocated for this. I'm sure, the thing is, again, it's what's so frustrating, right, is that fine policy, perfectly reasonable policy to have breakfast clubs for kids at school. Loads of studies have shown this has got loads of efficacy at increasing educational attainment, reducing child hunger and things like that. But if you're going to do it, at least fund it to the tune of more than 60 pence a child.
It must be really heartening to the parents of Britain to know that your child is worth so much to this government. Really. They really feel like it's worth investing in your child's future.
Like, it just feels like they allocated as little money as possible that they could to it so that they could say that they actually hit a manifesto pledge. Yeah.
And look, what's the point in investing more than 60 pence a piece when most of them are probably going to die when their schools collapse because the rack thing hasn't been fucking dealt with? So,
oh no, it's so true. The schools have like
some of them are look. If they're all going to die, what's the point in giving them food? You know what I mean? It's crazy. I'm a Labour Chancellor.
Working parents, and also to make sure that children get a good start in life. So I reject that character.
And again, the point is, the MPs are allowed up to an expenses of £50 a day for breakfast. £50.
£50.
An MP is worth £50. Your child is worth 60 pence. Do you ever feel like there might be a bit of a hierarchy going on there? Perhaps.
Yeah.
Of what we're doing.
Well, some of
and
your-
on welfare, let me just say this. The system is in bad need of reform. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. We've got 1 in 8 young people who are not in education, employment or training. I am not willing to write off a generation of young people. And that's why we're putting in £1 billion worth of targeted, personalised support to get people back into work, contributing to their family finances and contributing to the economy.
The problem is when our viewers, some of them, look at what you've done, they don't think that you are sticking to the promises you made. David got in touch to say when people voted Labour to remove the Tories, they did not expect a continuation of Tory policies. Again, you're choosing to cut welfare. You've already taken winter fuel payments from most pensioners. What do you say to David? He's looked at what you're doing and is saying, that's not a Labour government I voted for.
At the moment, we've got 1,000 people a day going on to personal
She's
independence.
literally not going to say it. She's literally not even going to say, no, this is a Labour government. She can't even do that. Oh my God, this is fucking awful.
She knows that it's not true. That's it. She knows it's not true. And the thing is, her immediate response to this, having discussed the removal of the winter fuel payment as well in the question there, is say, oh, well, some people are getting PIP, and I'm just like, they need to get back into work. And I'm just, hang on a minute, PIP has no work requirement.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Payments. For the people who need support, we will continue to protect them, and that's the guarantee
This is about
that I will
some of
make.
things that you
Okay,
are doing.
hang on a
And
minute.
we've got viewers who...
So the implication there is none of the people who had PIP before, who are now having it taken away, deserved it. Like, literally, there are people out there who can't even wash themselves below the waist, who need help from others to wash themselves below the waist, will now not longer get PIP anymore. And Rachel Reeves has admonished all of these people as essentially being scroungers.
Yeah, well,
yes,
she's a Tory, yeah. Yeah, that's literally the thing they believe. Because, of course, the noted psychologist, Wesley Streeting, already told us that they're being diagnosed. So it's, none of them deserved it. They're all scroungers. We're going to take it all off them because get fucked, I guess. That's literally the government's policy is, fuck you.
Literally.
Because they're Tories. They're just Tories.
who've been getting in touch with us this week. Another one, Janice. She's quoted what the Prime Minister said to us, saying, as he said, the broadest shoulders should bear the heaviest burden. Is this really pensioners, the sick and the disabled? What do you say to her?
Well, at the budget last year, we froze fuel duty and we didn't increase the taxes that working people pay, their national insurance, income tax or VAT. But we did increase taxes on the wealthiest. We've got rid of the non-dom tax status, VAT on private schools. We increased capital gains tax, and we tightened up the rules around inheritance tax. At the same time, we increased taxes on business.
But why
what
then
did we
have you
use that
given
money
people
for?
The impression, because politics is about often what people feel the government's doing in their name. And for these people who've been getting in touch with us this week, and perhaps many people watching at home, you've given them the sense that you're not the Labour Party who made promises to them in the election. You've been doing things like cutting the winter fuel payment, cutting welfare. This week we expect you to cut the budgets of some government departments. Have you not got the story right? Or are they right to think that actually you've changed your mind on lots of things?
Also, hang on a minute. When they look at the scale of these things, it's fine to increase the taxation on private schools. And it is perfectly reasonable to get rid of the broadest amount of agricultural property relief and only having it be 20% as opposed to 40% that would normally be if they didn't have any relief. These are fine reforms, but the money that's being raised from the private school tax, only a couple of billion, it's tiny. Like, the amount that they are taking away from the disabled is more than double what they're expecting private school parents to pay in,
Yeah.
So that isn't the broadest shoulders. And it's fine to increase capital gains tax very slightly, but they could still have equalised it with income tax. These people are still getting away with, a better rate in terms of tax than people who actually work for their money rather than turn money into money.
Well, exactly. Yeah, that $2 billion they're saving is what, 8 months of the money we're giving to Ukraine for the next century. Bit ridiculous, isn't it, really, when you put it in context?
Yeah.
A huge black hole, £22 billion black hole.
Hey, everyone take a drink.
Chancellor. That requires a number of difficult decisions on tax, on welfare and on spending, because I promised to bring stability back to the economy, because it wasn't the wealthiest who lost out when Liz Truss lost control of the economy. It was ordinary working people. And I said never again will we have a government that plays fast and loose with the public finances. And because of the stability that I have been able to bring back to the economy, Andrew Bailey and the Bank of England have cut interest rates by 3 times since the general election. That means lower mortgage rates than people otherwise would have been paying, lower costs for businesses. And that volatility that we had in the economy previously that was so damaging to business confidence and investment has been, we've drawn a line under that. Yes, we've had to make difficult decisions, but on welfare,
got all the greatest hits today, hasn't
First
you?
of all, we must protect those.
Honestly, we should have done Reeves bingo.
Literally, we've had
support.
We've had £22 billion black hole. We've had difficult decisions. We've had Liz Truss crash the economy. Like, just all of the greatest hits of the NPC dialogue tree of Labour ministers in this interview.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, fair play, fair play. She's learnt her brief and recited it incredibly well. But it doesn't make her seem like, I don't know, human, does it?
No, she is the most robot-y of all the robots. Beep boop.
And we must give all the support possible to help people back to work. I was at the job centre in my constituency in Pudsey on Friday, and I met with the work coaches there who told me wonderful and remarkable stories about how they've helped people back into work and the transformative effect that has had on them and their families. And I want more people to have the support to get back into work. But we've got a benefit.
She's just George Osborne. She's literally just George Osborne. I was going to say yassified, but she's not even that fucking yassified, in all honesty. She's just George Osborne. Literally.
And obviously George Osborne was putting out a statement saying how happy he was with Liz Kendall trying to reform the welfare state. Like how much lower does a Labour government have to go when they're getting praise from the worst elected official in British history? Like how do you sink this low? How do you sink this low? And again, she's talking about the fact that we have this big problem with the welfare state. And I'm just like, well, you're making it harder for people to get back into work because, for example, the people who have PIP, who are out of work, because there's some who are and some who aren't, are now going to find it harder to get back into work because they don't have PIP to help deal with all of the problems with a disability that are keeping them out of work.
Yeah.
It's insanity.
Also, I just want to, as a historian, you know, I have to step in. I think there are worse people in British history as elected officials. And this one's for the Americans. I'm just going to say George Washington. Boom. Motherfuckers. He took a pledge to his Royal Britannic Majesty and went back on it. Traitor. But, thankfully, Trump is going to rejoin the Commonwealth because he didn't understand what the fuck was being said. Because he's an idiot. We're going to accidentally end up owning America again, aren't we? He's going to sign it over to us without even realising. We played the long game, America. GG.
Bill that is going through the roof, where people are locked out of work. I want to change that and give more people the dignity and pride that comes from work through proper support to get there.
But we've just heard from Anila, and we've heard also from lots of viewers as well. One of them, Philip, who gets PIP at the moment, a disability payment, who feels he's been abandoned by the government. And is it worth the pain and the anxiety for some people to save £5 or £6 billion out of a government that's...
Read the fucking question. Look, it's well worth reading it, Laura. As a journalist, you've put it on the fucking screen. What happened to Labour? Where is their so-called compassion? How can they decry Tory cruelty one year, then enthusiastically adopt those same policies the next?
Get Rachel Reeves to sit there stony-faced and robotically try and answer that question. Where's your compassion, Rachel Reeves? Where is it? Oh, turns out there never fucking was any, was there?
Yeah, exactly.
Got a budget of more than 1 trillion, because there's people on the other side who say, you're not really being radical at all. You're fiddling around with some of the terms and conditions, causing huge anxiety for people like Philip. Look, there he's saying, what happened to Labour? Where's your compassion?
Oh, she did. Fair
Is
enough.
it worth
Well, she half read
the
it.
pain and anxiety for people like Philip and the political pain of you for you to save perhaps £5 or £6 billion?
Well, what I would say to Philip is that there will be no change in his personal independence payment until he comes up to his next assessment. And when Philip was last assessed, I expect he didn't see.
Oh, that's okay then. We're not going to completely destroy your life for like another 18 months, so calm down. It's fine.
You know, you've got a ticking clock with which that you can look at with dread for the next 6 months or whatever it is, until you know that you therefore look at the time when you realise the impending doom of the removal of what meagre lifeline that you have to be able to ensure that your standard of living is at least marginally the same as most other people's in the country.
Yeah, the
Also,
sword of Damocles will hang upon you until it eventually falls, and that will definitely help your mental health in the short term, I'm sure.
You can take solace in the looming threat of the sword of Damocles, absolutely. Thank you, Zakat, for the 37 people raiding, and welcome. Thank you very much. Welcome in. You're through to the Justice Stream. We talk about UK politics from a socialist perspective 6 days a week. If that sounds like your thing, please drop a follow. I'm also here with Kevin Logan, who's also a socialist, also from the UK, who also streams similarly that sort of that many times a week.
Yeah, something like that.
It's about 5 or 6 times a week usually, and you can follow him for similar content, except probably more American stuff than I do.
And let's be honest, I don't want to give you the false advertising here. It's a shitter version as well, much shitter.
Funnier though.
Anyway, yeah, you can. Hello, Kevin Logan, KF Logan 1875.
And at Ploppy1 over on the YouTubes as well. You can also subscribe to me on YouTube at No Justice MTG.
Yeah, she's doing numbers. Let's go.
I am. My segments keep getting 10k views. What the fuck is going on? Anyway, and also if you're in my chat, either on YouTube or over on Twitch, please go and follow Zakat. Excellent Australian-based Australian-based left-wing commentary and educational Twitch streamer. Go and do the follow.
Yeah, go and do that. Also, don't act like... Look, I noticed the Greens organised video that was put out. Guess who got cut out of it? The K-Man. Just saying. It's difficult not to take it personal. When will the white man be allowed to speak?
See an assessor face to face, and he probably didn't see somebody who was trained adequately. We want to have more face-to-face assessments with people that are trained to give people like Philip the support that they need. And if Philip cannot work, he will...
No. You want to get people who are better trained at doing the assessment so you can make it easier to take it away from him. You're literally trying to say here that if there's someone who's been assessed before and they do qualify for PIP currently, that the assessments were bad before, so they're going to get a new assessment that's going to assess them to make sure they can take it away. You're literally trying to do what George Osborne did, or Ian Duncan Smith did, in the DWP, in job centres, to try and change people from this holistic role of trying to get people in a better state themselves to be employed, and instead to try and sanction them, or to try and take away their PIP to penny pinch for the fucking Treasury.
Yeah, like... The idea of the job centre, in theory, is that you go there in order to try and help you get back to work, right? In theory. That's the sort of point of it. So it should be something that you don't fucking dread.
Exactly.
And yet that's exactly what it is now. It's just a place where the poor go, hopefully, to not be eviscerated for the tiniest infringement.
Also, thank you, Amalfi85, for pointing out that they know Philip. And he did have a face-to-face assessment. So just completely irrelevant, the answer to this question.
Fair enough.
Will continue to get personal independence payments. In fact, we've said there should be enhanced support for the most disabled. But at the same time, we want to help those people.
Well, unless they're below the age of 22, in which case you can literally go and fuck yourself. Is government policy now.
Who can work through personalised and targeted support get back into work, whether they have mental health problems. And the big increase in the benefits bill is from more and more young people claiming sickness and disability benefits. I don't believe that there are 1 in 8 young people in Britain today who actually can't work. We've got to help them get the training and the support to get back into work, not writing them off.
So you've decided that above and beyond the doctors who have actually seen them?
And on top of that, again, that is absolutely reasonable in the same way that the job centres of old were there to try and help people and give people holistic support to get back into work. These are all good things. You say, well, we want to get them the help and the training that they need. By all means, go and do that. Absolutely fine. These are all things that you get my blessing to go and do. But what that can't go alongside is taking away support for the disabled based upon fucking entirely nebulous criteria. Like, you're just... None of this is defensible when you're taking 5 billion away, and again, not from people who are out of work that you're trying to convince into work, from the whole gamut of the disabled, because PIP isn't something that's got a work requirement.
Yep.
For a lifetime of eking out an existence, we want those people to have fulfilling careers, and we're going to give them the support to get there.
The big picture.
Yes, fulfilling careers like doing DoorDash and barely surviving, or pissing in a bottle for Jeff Bezos. So much dignity!
Woo!
Here, Rachel Reeves, when you look across everything that's happened, before the election, you said you wouldn't have to make cuts and you wouldn't really have to raise taxes because you were going to get the economy to grow. What was visible from space, which almost every economic expert said, was that actually whoever won the election...
Well, it wasn't just economic experts, was it? Maybe there was a leader of a political party. Actually, two, really, if you count the SNP as well, who said that there was a conspiracy of silence around this. That the major parties were ignoring the fact that there was a massive hole in all of the numbers, and that they were lying to the electorate.
Yeah, like Stephen Flynn asked the question openly in Parliament. He said it in multiple debates during the election. John Swinney said it directly to people. Anna Sawar, the Scottish Labour leader, during the election debates. And Anna Sawar turned around and told a barefaced lie that there would be no austerity under Labour. They willfully engaged in a conspiracy of silence and are now trying to pretend that they didn't do it because they're fucking liars.
Yep.
Was going to have to put up taxes and they were going to have to make cuts. And here we are, you've already put up taxes and you are going to have to make cuts. So why weren't you straight with people in the election in July? Because it was obvious this was going to happen, and some people are quite hacked off that you weren't straight about it then.
I made a commitment during the election, Keir Starmer made a commitment, that we wouldn't...
People didn't realise that Keir Starmer was a proven morally corrupt serial liar. Heaven forfend, chat. And thing is what's funny is that given that statement that was made, this is a quote from James O'Brien, by the way, the idea of Keir Starmer not being a morally corrupt serial liar.
Notorious J.O.B.
Yeah, Savanta literally did one of those word clouds where they asked the public to describe Keir Starmer, and the biggest answer by a country mile was calling him a liar, because he is. He lied during the leadership election. He lied during the time when they were in opposition. They lied during the election. Now they're lying now they're in government. It's all these people know. It's all these people know to do is lie. It's the only thing they know how to do.
The word cunt also appeared. Just want to put that out.
Increase the key taxes that working people pay, their income tax, their national insurance and their VAT. And those are promises that I stuck with in the budget last year. It meant I had to make other difficult decisions, but that money we raised through increasing taxes on the wealthy and on business have meant that for 5 months in a row, we've been able to reduce NHS waiting lists, delivering on that promise of change to ensure that people can see a doctor and get the support that they need when they are sick and ill.
You wouldn't have to make cuts because the economy was going to grow. The economy is stubbornly refusing to do what you're trying to get it to do. And some of the decisions...
Have they not pressed the button yet?
Sorry, that description that Laura Koonsberg said about the economy made it sound like it was a stubborn child.
Yeah, exactly.
Like an unruly child. I shan't grow. No, don't want to. Rather than an impact of like government policy.
Economic disobedience is what it is.
It's economically disobedient. It is so true, so true. And even then, her saying that they put money into the NHS, right, which is all well and good to do that. heavy praise from me if the NHS budget increases, right? Even if it's only a small amount, that's better than nothing. But the actual question was about the lies about the conspiracy of silence before the election, which she's not answered the fucking question. Is that you said you wouldn't have to put up taxes, and that was a fucking lie.
Yep.
It was a barefaced lie. You have put up taxes now, and I'm glad that you have. It was good that you did. You didn't go far enough on the wealthiest, but whatever, At the very least, it was better than not doing it. Except this was essentially based off the back of some deliberate, if not lies, at least bendings of reality or being economical with the truth during the election, of talking about, well, there's nothing in our manifesto that requires tax rises, when you were told multiple times that there was going to be cuts in government departments, in unprotected government departments, the tune of £20 billion if you didn't raise taxes.
Yep.
So there was implied that you would have to, and you never answered the fucking question, because these people are just barefaced liars.
You've made, like we've heard from Sasha, whacking up NI, national insurance payments for employers, are costing business. They're making it harder for them to prosper. And you are you not, going to have to announce cuts this week to some government departments?
There will be real terms increases in government spending in every year of this Parliament.
That's the overall. Can you confirm you're going to have to make cuts to some government departments?
We'll set out the spending settlements in June for every department. That's the spending review.
That's not my question. This is what your deputy said earlier this week. We won't be blindly cutting. So can you just be straight with our viewers now? You are going to have to make cuts to some government departments, aren't you?
We're going to invest in the areas that are our priorities. So, for example, the Health Secretary, Wes Keating, has announced the abolition.
Yes, they literally asked twice directly, tell the audience, will you make cuts in government departments? And she can't just say the word yes. Just say yes. Like, you've admitted to the press in briefings that you're doing it. Why can't you admit to the press in fucking person? It's pathetic.
Yep.
Of NHS England, and we will reinvest that money in frontline public services. So we're going to do things differently. We're going to cut the back office functions, the administrative and bureaucracy functions. The size of government increased massively during the COVID pandemic. That was 5 years ago, as you've just reported, but the size of the civil service hasn't come back during that period.
So
and we now need to make sure that we do realise those efficiency savings so we can invest in the priorities.
Can you confirm today then that government departments are being told to cut their budgets,
well, what we've asked
every running
government
costs by 15%? Can
yes,
you confirm that?
We are, by the end of this Parliament, making a commitment that we will cut the costs of running government by 15%. And I think anyone running a business will think that that is more than possible. Because if you look at the advances in technology and AI, we're already using it at His Majesty's Revenue and Customs and the Department.
Literally just AI slop content now. That's what we're getting from the government. Just the Tony Blair Institute's like AI donors trying to get them to replace civil service workers with their learning machines, their like language learning models, whatever the fuck they're called, large language models, Yeah. It's just spare me, honestly. And again, literally just the same thing that you got from George Osborne, them saying, well, we're not going to actually cut, but what we're asking to do is just make some savings through efficiency. It's not going to change the running of government, of course. It's going to be more efficient. Did it actually make things more efficient, or did it just cut back service provision? Answers on a postcard. True. But we're just going to do the same thing over and over again and expect different results.
Right. Couple of quick things. Firstly, thank you, Andreas, for scaring the shit out of me. Why have Labour politics if you can't help the poor? True. The old adage of, was it the Labour Party is a moral crusade or it is nothing? And thank you, James from the internet, for raiding in. Much love. Hello there, James, people. Hit the follow button. I'm not even going to ask you nicely. I'm just saying hit the fucking follow button, you cunts. Anyway. I'm with No Justice MTG, who's also dope as fuck. Go and follow them immediately.
It's true. It's very true. Also, well worth pointing out from Doc Authority there that the report that the Tony Blair Institute generated to say that AI was good was fucking generated by AI.
Of course it was. Of course it was. That's why the right wing love AI, because they live in a false reality, and with AI they can try and make visual representations of their false imaginary nonsense to get mad about, or to do government policy with. Very easy.
Also, a very good point, making civil servants unemployed is going to put them into the welfare state, which you say you want to cut.
We got him.
Yeah.
Victory is ours.
Again, the false economy of austerity. Every fucking time. Thank you to the people coming in. Much love. Thank you, James from the internet, for resubscribing. Much love to me. And yeah, we're watching an evil prick tell us how we all deserve to be poor. Yay.
Department for Work and Pensions to tackle fraud and error in the system, using technology alongside people, but using more technology to do some of those jobs. And if we can realise those benefits, it means that we can invest more in people working in the front line, whether it's teachers in our schools, police on our streets, or doctors and nurses in our hospitals. And that's the right thing to do. There hasn't been a zero-based review of what government spends money on since 2007. That's 18 years ago. No business would run like that. So we've asked every department to rank all of their spending from the most important to the least. And we want to put more money into the things...
It's just Elon Musk. Please write from your department to, based upon what your current spending is, what 5 things makes this particular part of spending important.
So the last review of this was 18 years ago. So apparently Prince Andrew has lost interest in it. Ayo! Hoo, 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 hoo.
Are the most important things for voters, for citizens, and less money on the things that are just not necessary or we should be doing in a different way.
As we discovered last week when we were talking to one of your colleagues, for many civil servants, it's also a worrying time because they listen to you and they think that means my job. And for many other people watching, they hear, well, there's cuts to welfare, cuts to some government spending. And for years, you promised an end to austerity. There's some people on the left of your party who believe you are now wielding the axe and there's going to be a sort of Labour austerity on the table.
In the budget last year, I put £100 billion more into capital spending than the previous.
You can't even deny it. You can't even say, no, we're not doing austerity. Because they are. Amazing.
Had committed to. We put more than £20 billion into the National Health Service. That is a far cry from what we've seen under Conservative governments in the last 14 years. And as a result, we are delivering more appointments, already 2 million additional appointments in the NHS
But it might feel like
this
austerity
year.
to government departments that aren't lucky enough to be protected. We know the NHS budget is protected. Some bits of the school budget is. Defence is now being... If you are in another department, if you are in the Ministry of Justice, or if you're perhaps in the Home Office, if you don't have that protection, it might feel like austerity.
Well, in the Ministry of Justice, for example, we're going to be building the prison places that we need. So we are making those investments. Well, we'll set all that out when we do the spending review. But we can't just carry on like we have been, spending on the same things that the previous government spent on. People want to know we're getting value for money when people are paying more in tax, that they're getting more in return. And that's why in the budget last year, we put that additional money into those free breakfast clubs, into reducing NHS waiting lists, and indeed increasing the pay of our armed forces, our police, our nurses and our teachers. The first sustained pay rise for more than a decade. Those were the right things to do, and that's what we used those higher taxes on the wealthy and on business to pay for.
But the sum total of the effect on the economy of those decisions you've just talked about has been a stuttering, stagnant economy. It even shrank by some of the latest measures. Everybody watching knows that you have a very tough job, even though I know you say...
Why hasn't she pressed the grow economy button yet?
Literally, and again, this was the entirety of the pitch pre-election. And this was why at any point when they said how they were going to grow the economy, they should have been asked one very, very, very simple question. Such a simple question, it can be summarised in a single word. How?
Yeah. Literally, how are you going to do that?
Economy?
But the button! Press the button! By the way, if you want a button emote, go and subscribe to No Justice of the MTGs.
You can do that.
It's your dream job. It looks like a bit of a nightmare, I think, to most people. But borrowing is up, growth is down, unemployment has been ticking up since you've been in charge. Your promise was to get the economy to grow. Do you really think you've got everything right?
Well, the world has changed, and we can see that all around us, and that is having impacts on growth. You can see that in every country. The OECD forecasts for advanced economies this week showed reductions in their growth forecasts for this year right across the board. Although next year they forecast that the UK will be the second strongest economy in the G7. But do I need to go further and faster on delivering growth? Absolutely. That's why we are reducing the regulatory burden. It's why we've just introduced the planning and infrastructure bill to get Britain building again, the 1.5 million homes, the digital, the transport, the energy infrastructure. It's why today we've announced investment in construction skills so we can actually get those homes built with 60,000 training places to get people with the skills they need to contribute to our economy.
And you've been talking about shifting planning and getting houses built for nearly 9 months now, and actually planning approvals for housing projects have got to a record low.
You ask any house builder.
For God's sake. God, they're shit. They're so shit.
What do they think about the year ahead? And they're feeling more optimistic.
But the question
you can't
is,
turn everything around overnight, and we do need to do more, and you'll see more of that this week. It's also why, as we increase defence spending, which is absolutely the right thing to do in the changing world that we face, that we are using that additional investment to drive innovation and to bring good jobs in a really successful defence industry in Britain.
But it's an interesting question. After nearly 9 months in charge, and I know you planned for this job for a long time, do you think you've got everything right?
There are always going to be costs for every choice that you make, but there are also costs for irresponsibility. I did the responsible thing in the budget. It required difficult choices, but now, in the changing and uncertain world we're in,
at least she's a grown-up.
We have economic stability. Markets can be confident that the fiscal rules are non-negotiable. We will bring debt down as a share of GDP from the record debt levels that we inherited from the previous government. And the Bank of England have had the confidence to cut interest rates, which has an impact on the day-to-day costs of people.
Well,
and wages for the last few months have risen by almost twice the rate of inflation. Of course, we've got more to do. We've only been in government for a few months. I'm determined to bring back the growth. That is the prize that is on offer. Great public services, world-class public services, without asking working people to pay more. That's what I'm going to deliver through the stability and through the reform that I'm introducing.
What's frustrating?
It's nearly 9 months, I think, that you've had in office.
What's frustrating is that a lot of these things are true, like the wages going up is something that is true. And they could have done all of this, the stuff that she said that is reasonable there, what she said, and not just fucked over old people and the disabled, you know? Again, a couple more percentage points on capital gains, for example, could have covered it elsewhere, you know? But they're so obsessed with the appearance of being tough on spending that they refuse to just go like, no, actually we can have everything, you know? Because when it comes to how this comes across politically, when we're doing this zero-sum game, no budging on the fiscal rules style, debt must come down, we have a fiscal headroom style straitjacket in terms of policy. Whenever you cut something, you're seen as it being done at the expense of spending elsewhere, right? So the only response that you're going to get from people who look at them cutting the help for the disabled, the winter fuel allowance, is this is money that's being taken away from these people and being given to, I don't know, asylum seekers in hotels, or it's being given to arms contractors, or it's being given to Ukraine, exactly, or an expanded like state provision or whatever, you know. It doesn't matter which part of the electorate that you're in. You can find something else in government spending that you believe is less warranted to be spent upon than the things that they are cutting. And this zero-sum game in terms of spending, all you're doing is making enemies.
Yeah.
And so that's what's happened. That you've seen every single time. All my comment sections are flooded with people about the disabled cuts, about the disability cuts, saying, oh, they can't afford to spend 5 billion on the disabled, but they can afford to spend 6 billion on asylum seeker hotels, you know?
Yeah.
And again, no one wants to see us spending on asylum seeker hotels, but this is part and parcel of the failed asylum system that the Conservatives screwed up by cutting caseworkers and making it harder to get through the system. You know, we were doing double the number of asylum claims in 2002 when we had the record number of cases being brought to bear by the system. And this is just all it does is put the boot into the government. Whereas if they just said, "Well, we're going to increase some taxes," then actually it would have been all you have to defend the taxes on their own grounds. But you don't have to you don't have to defend your spending priorities, which is where you look at this and you go, "Well, obviously your priorities are fucked up." Everyone's looking at it, no matter what position they're from, thinking these priorities are screwed up.
Yeah, and just because I've mentioned Ukraine twice, just for especially the new people, the James people, and I think I speak for both of us when I say we have no problem with helping out Ukraine in its time of need, and all the rest of it. I think they're righteous in trying to defend themselves against outside aggression. That's fine. But that can't come at the same time as we're saying we have no money for pensioners or the disabled. Because, like, either we've got the money or we haven't got the fucking money.
Exactly. 100% right. 100% right.
It's ridiculous. Anyway, so yeah. But I tell you who hasn't got the money. Me. And No Justice. But mainly me. Now you can help either of us out with memberships, subscriptions, bits messages, super chats, all of that kind of jazz, if you want.
Super Chatsky.
Have you had any more from her? Because you're the middle class YouTuber who needs to put her name in the title of things or whatever, aren't you? That's you now? Yeah.
Yeah, apparently that's me. You know what? She can believe all she wants, and I genuinely, as I pointed out the other day, like I genuinely said, at least you're getting there now, right? Come join us in the Green Party. But no, she just refused to listen.
Yeah, because she's a wanker. Like, you're a nice person, but I'll just say it. She's a wanker. She's annoyed that they're doing the thing we told her they were going to do. And rather than admitting she was wrong, she's just going to carry on regardless. Get fucked then.
Pretty much. Also, thank you, Jack, for the £5. Working, productive people pay enough. Non-working, unproductive people pay little. Make them pay. Very, very true. Make the rich pay.
You know who's the most productive? Twitch streamers.
True. We are producing the most content.
Literally.
And by producing content, watching other people's content.
Sometimes not, though. Sometimes I do stuff on my own. I talk to people. It's all good.
That's true.
Now, and our viewers often actually get in touch with us to say.
And as license fee payers, we've bought this anyway. This is our fucking content.
I mean, that is true. Yeah.
Oh, it so annoys me. I've been copyright cucked a couple of times for using clips from Parliament, and I'm like, motherfucker, I paid the TV licence for the BBC to film and broadcast it, and I pay for these wankers to sit there in the fucking first place. And I don't get to use it. What?
That's very tedious. I've never been copyright cucked on Parliament. I think the only thing I've ever been copyright cucked on really is...
Question time.
Question time, yeah.
They don't want to hear Labour politicians talk about what they inherited and blame the last lot. However, one of the things that is making your job more unpredictable and more difficult, perhaps, is the prospect of Donald Trump introducing tariffs around the world. It's World Tariff Day next week. It's a new one for the calendar. When we expect Donald Trump to put his new taxes on imports in place, how will the UK respond if, as he's threatened, tariffs...
By bending over, I think. Mostly.
Well, apparently our response is going to be to get rid of proposed taxes on tech giants because they own the American government.
Brilliant. So basically Elon Musk is also the president of here too.
He is indeed.
Awesome.
It's nice, isn't it? The being a vassal state of the American empire.
Very much so.
I was going to say this
very much so.
Taxes on imports do apply to the UK.
I believe in free and open trade. Last time that Donald Trump was president of the United States, trade and investment flows...
If you believe in free markets, then surely you should get rid of the anti-trade union laws that you're not going to get rid of.
Yeah, or indeed, how about you just get rid of all regulation, just abolish the regulators. That'll stimulate growth, won't it?
Why even have a government?
True.
Between our countries grew. President Trump is rightly concerned about countries that run large and persistent trade surpluses with the US. The UK is not one of those countries. We have balanced trade between our countries.
Do you think he's going to leave the UK out of it?
Well, look,
no,
let's see.
He already didn't. He already didn't. We're already paying fucking tariffs.
On aluminium and steel, right?
Yeah. No, to be fair, we don't fucking make any of that anymore, but that's not the point.
Our Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, had a really good meeting in the White House. With
She had to name him. She couldn't just say the Prime Minister. Our Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, because we're not entirely sure you know who that is. He's so fucking he's so forgettable. He's such an empty, pointless human being. We have to actually name him. Because, like, that basic piece of information of who is the Prime Minister is not something that most people can answer.
Exactly.
President Trump a couple of weeks ago. The President and our Prime Minister agreed to enter into to talks about the future trade relationship between our countries. Let's see how that progresses over the next few days.
It fucking annoys me. They just kick the can down the road. Let's see how it progresses. We know how it's going to progress. We're going to bend over backwards, give everything over to them, and they're still going to fuck us. Just like they always have. It's not going to fucking make any difference. We're not going to get our fucking trade deal. Literally, the best thing we can do is hope they join the Commonwealth, because then there are rules that make it so that you take down tariffs between those nations.
Well, maybe we can trick Donald Trump, jingle some keys at him.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, it does also mean that we're never winning anything at the Commonwealth Games again. Because the good thing about the Commonwealth Games is there's no America, there's no Russia, there's no China. We can win some things. If America join, it's just going to be America, and then, like, Jamaica will win some shit with sprinting, and then nothing. No one wins anything else.
Pretty much. Oh, thank you, Bonzilla the Inevitable, for the bits.
Yeah.
But I want to see barriers to trade come down, not just with the US, but also, for example, with our nearest neighbours and trading partners in the European Union. And we have a summit in May between the UK and the EU as we look to improve those trade flows to help small businesses, particularly, trade right.
Oh, God, talking of fucking Europe and all that. Did you see Nigel Farage getting very mad that they've put in Europe, they put together some fucking slush fund for arms nonsense of like $1.2 gazillion or whatever, and the UK is not involved. And he was like, why have we been, why is the French being so horrible towards Britain? Why are the French government just, trying to make Britain less safe? Motherfucker, it's a European Union endeavour. You are Mr. Brexit. Like, literally, he might as well be saying, they've got a cake. We want to have that cake. We also want to have eaten the cake, but still have the cake that we haven't funded.
Having also deliberately mucked around in the background to ensure that we had the hardest Brexit possible.
Yeah, like, motherfucker, you don't get to have a cake or eat it if you don't pay anything towards it. You want a free cake to have and eat. Piss taker, honest to God.
Across the European continent.
One of the things that we understand is being discussed with the US is the tax on tech companies. It's called the Digital Services Tax. Now that raises about £800 million. Will you consider changing or even ditching that tax if that's what the US wants?
Well, it's the right.
Yes, obviously. Look at her. I'm surprised she can sit up straight with no spine. Like, it's amazing. Yeah, of course. It's such a redundant question. You know she's going to fucking give in. Just say, why are you doing this? Why are you fucking us? Why are you at the same time as eviscerating the poorest in the country going, you know what? Elon Musk needs a tax break. That motherfucker's had the boot of the government on his neck for too long. Sorry, I hate tech bros so much.
Oh, me too. I've just had so many of my mentions for the past day. I just so tiresome. Also, thank you, My Left Eye, for the Raiderinos over on the YouTubes. There are 284 viewers on YouTube though, and fucking hell, I don't even have my camera on.
Nice.
But welcome in everybody. Welcome in. If you're a new viewer, I've obviously had a big influx of subscribers recently. Welcome to the stream again. If you're new,
get yourself on camera, girl. Honest to God, you'll do numbers.
I'm so tired and I look gross. So that's it.
You can be the new e-girl on the left. That's what we need.
Yeah. My Sunday streams are usually the one where I don't turn the camera on because I've just come out from being out all day every Sunday. So just want to be able to mong out, to be honest. And this is why I'm glad that we can just get angry at Laura Greensburg every evening. But again, if you're a new viewer to the stream, you should go and follow Kevin Logan on YouTube as well, which is you search Kevin Logan on YouTube, you can find his channel and go and drop him a subscription as well, as he is my regular. co-host with the co-most on Sundays when we watch Laura Koonsberg.
I do sit in the cuck chair, yes. And we watch Laura Koonsberg and several British members of Parliament fuck our country.
It's true.
Thing that companies who operate in the UK pay their taxes in the UK, and the United States government and tech companies understand that as well. But as I say, we are having discussions with the US at the moment.
So
I
you
want to
might change
preserve
that tax.
free and open trade, but I think as a basic principle, you should pay tax in the countries in which you operate, and the US recognise that as well.
But I'm trying to understand, might you consider changing that tax at Trump's behest?
But we're in
Or is it-
discussions at the moment around a whole range of things around.
So yeah, she's getting rid of it, obviously. Like when she dances around like this, ridiculous.
Yeah, because if the answer was no, she would have said, like, the no would be the right answer that everyone wants to hear. And so if she meant no, she would have said no.
Yeah. Thank you, Andreas, who says, how are the Tesla sales in the UK, Kev? I think they're slightly down, but they're not nearly as down as they are everywhere else in Europe.
Did you see Nick Ferrari's segment on LBC getting Tesla owners to call in about how they're being abused in public? It was very funny.
Oh my God, are they doing like a Tesla's survivors organisation? Tesla Drivers Anonymous.
Literally, someone said they have rolled down the window. What does it feel like to drive a car made by a Nazi? It was very funny.
Yeah, well, I've seen that. I've seen people like booing Teslas that drive past. So like, but you know what? Don't drive Nazi cars. Like, it's actually not that difficult. Also, I saw. Did you see the community note that appeared IRL? You've now got IRL community notes, which I'm very much here for.
In what context was this?
I'm trying to find it on the thing. I bookmarked this. God damn it! What? Oh, unless it's been deleted. Maybe it was deleted. Hang on. Someone put on the back of their Tesla, I bought this before he became mental or whatever. And someone...
No, it was a Cybertruck, yeah.
Yeah, a Cybertruck, right. And someone went and sellotaped a note underneath it that said the Tesla Cybertruck was only after he'd become a Nazi. So, you know.
Literally, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, even then, like, was it 2018 or 2017 where he was calling like the Thai cave divers paedophiles?
Yeah, well, technically, it was a British guy, wasn't it? That he called a pedophile because, and this is beautiful. This sums him up perfectly. It's not that the guy did anything wrong. It's that his idea, because obviously he's the main character, right? So Elon Musk had to have an idea, was to build a special tiny submarine that the man could get in and go into the flooded caves and bring people out, which is ridiculous. Like, they were literally flooding there and then. No such vehicle currently exists. So you'd have to design and make it in an hour, get it to Thailand, train this man how to use it. Like, he's a fucking cave diver, he's a spelunker. He went in and fucking saved the kids, right? Anyway, and so the guy was asked about Elon Musk's idea, and he said, that sounds stupid. Because it is. And Elon Musk went, well, he's a fucking nonce. Probably raped the kids, don't he? Fucking pedo. Like,
oh my God.
And then Britain's libel laws are a bit too lax. You get a lot of slap suit type stuff. But in America, they've gone too far the other way, because that's a really open and shut case of libel or slander, technically, because it was, said, but whatever.
Spoken, yeah.
But like, it's pretty obvious the open and shut, because you're accusing someone of a definitive crime. A pedophile is a specific thing, right? A thing that there's no evidence this man has ever engaged in his entire life. Open and shut. But Elon Musk's lawyers argued that was a, quote, generic insult. And that worked. They let him off with that. That was fine.
That's my favourite ruling since Fox News got away with essentially openly lying on Tucker Carlson, because they successfully argued that no one would believe that Tucker Carlson was telling the truth anyway.
Yeah. Which is fair enough, yeah. Also, Tucker Carlson literally just being an open Nazi this week, in more literal sense than he ever has before. He was literally musing as to whether the right side won in World War II.
Oh, wow, that's open. Open,
yeah.
Fucking...
Yeah.
posting. Wow.
In an interview that followed an interview he did with the guy who's currently negotiating Trump's deal with Russia and Ukraine. So that's really normal. Oh fuck! I've got to change that fucking noise, man. That's not acceptable. Thank you, Moon C, who says, I bet the Volkswagen marketing team are sweating with all the Tesla Nazi car memes going about. No, they're not. They're loving it. Because when you thought previously of Nazi and car together, a few people would have gone Volkswagen. Now no one's thinking Volkswagen. Everyone's thinking Tesla. So the Volkswagen gets off lightly. They're just going,
Absolutely.
do, nothing to see here, lads. Buy a Volkswagen.
All the Volkswagen like Nazi links have been fucking whitewashed now by
Exactly. I bet if you Google Nazi and car, the thing that comes up is Tesla. The Volkswagen PR team are fucking jumping for joy.
Literally. Also, thank you, Jack Meller, for the 20 gifties. That's incredibly generous.
Is that
Remember,
the Jack Meller?
It's the Jack Meller.
Good God.
You remember, of course, if you want to become, if you're somebody who's not a member and you want to support the stream, it is only 99p. It is literally cheaper than the proverbial can of Red Stripe if you want to become a member, and you get our lovely little emotes like the little ones in chat, and you get access to the archived live streams. So if you're a new viewer, you've tuned in since you've subscribed since all of the massive content I've been pumping out this last week, then you can help support me live a life of luxury on £24,000 a year by becoming a member.
True.
Continue to operate on that principle that you should pay taxes in the country in which you operate, and that's really important for UK-based businesses as well, that they don't face an unfair disadvantage from companies that aren't paying their taxes in Britain.
I'm trying to sort of decode, though, that answer there. You're answering, I think, very carefully, saying that, yes, you want to work with the US, but yes, it's important to pay tax. So I'm trying to decode that for our viewers. Might you tweak the digital services tax in order to save the UK economy from tariffs put in place by Donald Trump?
We've got to get the balance right, and those discussions at the moment are ongoing. We want to make progress. We do not want to see British exporters subject to higher tariffs, and we want to see trade barriers fall right across the world. It's why, for example, my colleague Johnny Reynolds, as well as having those conversations with Europe and the US, is also negotiating trade deals with India and the Gulf countries as well, because we believe in free and open trade. We want to help British exporters sell great British products all around the world, and that's what trade deals can secure.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens in that. Do you think, though, that the Trump administration is really listening to the UK? Because the Prime Minister came to the studio a few weeks ago and he talked about his plan for the coalition.
They are listening to the UK. They are listening to us grovel.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah, in the same way that you might listen to a dog whimpering to go outside. Yeah.
Willing for European and other allies to come together to be ready to defend a potential peace in Ukraine. I just want to play you and everyone at home what Donald Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, said yesterday.
I think it's a combination of...
Yeah, here we go, being interviewed on the Tucker Carlson show. I promise you I didn't pre-watch this. It was a thing that happened.
Posture and oppose and a combination of also being simplistic. I think there's this... this sort of notion of we've all got to be like Winston Churchill. Yeah. The Russians are going to march across Europe. I think that's preposterous.
Now, that's President Trump's envoy saying that the Prime Minister's idea for a coalition of the willing is a simplistic posture and oppose.
Well, it is, and he also has rightly tagged the idea that he wants to be seen as a Churchillian figure, but then again, literally every British Prime Minister does. Because, there's literally a statue of the motherfucker outside of Parliament. Yeah, they all want to be seen in that kind of light, obviously. Which is why they all do their own wars. Except Churchill had a war thrust upon him and responded, whereas David Cameron just set up some slave markets in Libya.
True, he personally went there and put up the signage for the slave market.
Yeah, he didn't need to set the prices. I thought that was a bit too much, but fair play. He likes a market,
It's hardly a free market though. If he's setting prices, that's all very Soviet Union, isn't it?
It is a little bit planned economy, Dave.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me saying. Yeah. So Anyway, they want to be seen as Churchillian, but the thing is, Steve Witkoff is a piece of shit. And has literally said that Russia isn't the bad guy in this. So, like, he's the opposite of Churchillian, I guess. I don't know. He's I don't want to say Chamberlain wasn't pro-Hitler.
No, it was Oswald Mosley.
Yeah, he's Oswald Mosley. Yeah, absolutely.
It's not let's appease Hitler. It's just Hitler's right.
Yeah, it's literally like actually, I think Hitler should invade. Yeah, well, that would be good.
Please don't clip these out of context.
Please don't clip them. Well, I said yesterday I meant to say I was on the dark woke train, and because of Elon Musk, I said dark MAGA. And I corrected myself, but someone obviously clipped me. So I now seem like a mentalist. And these are people that like me. These are my regular viewers that do this. Unbelievable.
Pretty big snub, isn't it, to Keir Starmer's huge diplomatic efforts?
Well, I think we can see the impact of our Prime Minister's diplomatic efforts, bringing together European leaders and indeed leaders from other countries around the world, and also being in constant dialogue with President Trump as well as with Vladimir Zelensky, who we welcomed to London just a couple of weeks ago. We want to see a just and lasting peace in Ukraine. I think that's what Donald Trump and the US administration want to see as well. I'm not put off by that. We will need to make sure that if there is a ceasefire...
They're literally going to carry on pretending the the American fucking dream works. The transatlanticism is dead, and they just can't accept it. They're just going to carry on as if the American government aren't literally planning to fuck us. Did you see the thing with the F-35s in Denmark this week?
No.
No. So Trump basically undermined the entirety of the American weapons industry by claiming, and I don't even know if this is true or not, that there are ways in which they can essentially nerf weapons that are being sold to European partners because they might not be our friends in the future. And so the person who was in charge of buying weapons on behalf of the Danish government came out and said, "We regret this. Please don't anyone buy these weapons." Literally, he said this in the Oval Office. He was like, "Oh, no, we're purposely going to undermine the effectiveness of our own fucking machines." Who's going to buy that then, you fucking idiot? Art of the deal there. Donald Trump.
Literally. And it's so funny how, like, the guy who was seen as, like, the businessman safe hands for the economy is just a giant fucking train wreck in terms of how he's just deliberately crashing it, just deliberately crashing his own economy.
Amazing. I think I've got to find the little clip of it because it's amazing. Yeah, they planned. They were going to. They were announcing something, and Boeing were given the contract or some shit anyway, and oh, here we go. Yeah. I mean, just incredible. As if you would ever say this. What a fucking idiot. Because you know that, like, China make weapons as well, mate. You don't have to buy them from America.
Buy them also, and certain allies will be selling them, perhaps toned-down versions. We like to tone them down about 10%, which probably makes sense because someday maybe they're not our allies, right?
I mean, to be fair, Apple turned down their phones after 2 years to their own customers, right? And those motherfuckers still buy the Apple bloody phones. Like the Apple could literally punch their own customers in the face, and people would still pay like £1 million for a brand new iPhone Plus on release day.
Yeah, some people are very stupid. Yeah, that is true. But we might tone it down 10%. Brilliant. I mean, what a salesman he is.
It can be enforced, and that's what our Prime Minister, along with allies around the world, is trying to secure. And of course, the US has got to be an important part of that. But it is right that European countries, including the UK, is upping defence expenditure, because in this uncertain world, national security, our domestic security, is incredibly important for so many things, including a strong economy.
And just lastly, as you're here, many viewers will remember, and many viewers were very, very cross when you had just moved into office. It emerged that the Prime Minister and other Labour politicians and you had accepted donations of clothes. In the last few days...
Well, hang on, not just clothes. tickets, corporate events, travel costs,
A whole
house,
birthday party.
whole birthday party, access to a house for your son to study in. Was another one.
£1 million interest-free loan for a house to buy.
Hmm.
That's what Siobhan McDonough got from Lord Ali.
But no, it's just some clothes and that's fine. Like, honest to God, the manufacturing consent machine is really doing overtime in recent weeks. Just downplay it. Even as you're asking the question, doing your pretend version of journalism, undersell it to the point where it's just a few dresses and a ticket for a concert. Who cares? And yeah, and of course the glasses. Yeah.
Yep.
Also emerged that you accepted free tickets for a corporate box to see the singer Sabrina Carpenter at London's O2 Arena this month. Is that what happened? And if you did, why are...
And if you did you do the Eiffel Tower with two businessmen afterwards? Because that's an important question that you haven't answered, Chancellor, frankly. That's a reference some will get and some won't, and that's fine. You don't need to look into it.
Free clothes, a no-no, but free concert tickets is a yes, please.
I went with a member of my family to see a concert a couple of weeks ago. I do now have security, which means it's not as easy as it would have been in the past to just sit in a concert. Although that would probably be a lot easier for everyone concerned. So, look, I took those tickets to go with a member of...
Hang on, what's... whoa. What's that got to do with anything? I've got security now, okay. You can still buy your own fucking tickets. Why are you taking tickets from corporate donors?
Exactly. Like, again, you're not just any old salary. This isn't any salary. This is the fucking Chancellor of the Exchequer salary.
Yeah.
My family, I thought that was the right thing to do from a security
Did you
perspective.
pay for them? Because you could pay for them.
Well, these weren't tickets that you could pay for, so there wasn't a...
These weren't tickets you could pay for. What does that mean? What the fuck are you talking about? No, Sabrina Carpenter decided not to accept money in exchange for her services as a performer. She was just giving them out for free. No, what do you mean you couldn't fucking buy them? That's such an obvious lie. Fucking hell. Don't fucking... It's so insulting to the intelligence of anyone watching this to say these aren't tickets. No, these were special magical tickets, which you could only purchase with the magic beans. It's fucking nonsense, man. Don't talk to me like I'm a fucking 5-year-old. I know how concert tickets work.
A price to those tickets. Obviously, I will declare that the value of them, but they weren't tickets that you were able to buy.
Okay, Rachel Reeves, it's a big...
What do you mean, okay? Why have you accepted that as an answer? What are you talking about? Why even ask? If you're not bothered, if you're not interested, why even fucking ask? Because that answer could have been... She could have just gone, beep boop, porridge, I like spoons.
Dark Authority rightly points out, how can you submit the value of priceless tickets? Like, how
Just infinity. She just puts it just puts the sideways 8 for infinity, because who knows how much it cost.
Well, speaking of costing things, thank you Proton Balls for the 10 gifted on Twitch as well. That's incredibly generous of you. Thank you.
Nice.
Busy weekend. I know you've got lots of preparations still to do, so we appreciate you coming in this morning and talking to us at great length. Thank you very much indeed, Chancellor. Now, of course, remember, we want to know what you think. You'll have heard us this morning putting some of your questions to the Chancellor. You can always email us, kuenssberg@bbc.co.uk, or if you're social media inclined, you can use the hashtag BBC Laura Kay, and hopefully at the end of the programme we'll have time to share some of your emails, and if not, there'll be plenty of them in our newsletter on Thursday. Well then, Anila, what did you have to say about what the Chancellor explained to us?
I mean, I think what's clearer that...
Those are quite expensive tickets, man. General admission, £94.80.
I'm so glad the bands I like are fucking no one's heard of.
Yeah,
I'm so glad that I
yeah.
listen to music that is incredibly underground, that you pay 15 quid and watch them in some mate's basement. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I'd watch it in the dive of a fucking bar or something. Yeah, love it.
Literally upstairs at the Sal in Nottingham.
Yeah. Premium seating, whatever that is 118 quid. Corporate boxes are between 250 and 260 pounds, including fees and taxes.
So that was what's the one you could buy then? Well, what a surprise!
Yeah, what a surprise! Yeah, crazy that, isn't it? But apparently she couldn't afford 160 quid when she earns 160 grand a year.
Yeah. Also, thank you, Jacob from Blaze, for pointing out. But she couldn't buy those tickets because she has a mortgage to pay. Like Torsten Bell.
True. We need to feel very sorry for these people. Honestly, they're put upon having to pay for things.
There never knows that these cuts are primarily there to meet a self-imposed fiscal rule and not to meet ill and disabled people's needs.
So the Chancellor's rules on limiting borrowing so the economy can stay stable.
Exactly. And, you know, the Chancellor spoke about personal independence payments and in the same hand talked about employment support.
Can we crowdfund Helena to interview Rachel Reeves? Firstly, you can't buy tickets for that. So why crowdfund anything? And secondly, that's already happened. There was already an interview situation, and it went so badly, I don't think Rachel Reeves wants a repeat.
True.
Employment benefit is there to help people with the extra cost of living with a disability and health condition. And many people who receive PIP are people who are in work. And, you know, it leaves that outstanding question of how is reducing the income they receive to help manage the costs of their disability or health condition going to help them to retain work or actually...
Here's the important thing. It isn't. They just want them to die quietly. That's the end goal. Is literally the evisceration of an entire section of people. A kind of democide, if you will.
Find work.
Well, by the same token, though, Robert, the welfare bill, and we talked about it last week, we showed people some of the numbers last week. The welfare bill is already enormous and it is growing and growing and growing. And some people say, look, if you look at that, it'll be a government attached to a welfare bill.
Literally, I hope you get severe diseases in Minecraft. Look at that framing. It's already enormous compared to what? And growing and growing and growing and growing. What a fantastic, independent, non-biased BBC journalist you are, Laura Koonsberg.
Can manufacturing consent? What's that?
Crazy.
Bill. And actually, a lot of people are let down by the system and they don't get support. So doesn't something have to be done?
Well, but there needs to be joined up thinking here. They're talking about the explosion in mental health. Well, let's actually get more investment into the NHS for those therapies that people need to access because the waiting lists are too long, so that they're not parked on benefits. And, you know,
how did the waiting lists get so long, Robert?
That's a very interesting comment that you could make there about the waiting lists being long. If only there had been literally anybody, maybe someone who might theoretically have been a government minister in the last 15 years, who at any point could have spoken to another government minister and say, you know, this whole waiting list thing, you know, this whole, you know, percentage spend as GDP on the NHS thing, maybe we should stop fucking that up.
Yeah, that would have been good, wouldn't it?
the point you made about PIP is so important. There's been no real explanation as to how PIP is an empowering support for people with disabilities rather than a means-tested, income-based benefit.
But why did the Conservatives let it get to this situation?
Well, look, we faced after COVID quite an explosion in particular needs. The PIP system, you know, initially when it was set up had a lot of criticism, but I think it has delivered, you know, wide support to people, including people in work. It's a very strange place to start. What I was struck by the Chancellor was, of course, her strict adherence to the fiscal rules. She's got an eye on the bond market. There's no doubt she's worried and haunted by rising yields on government.
Oh, thankfully she's got her eyes on the bond market. Oh, that's okay then. Fuck the four. Thank you, Moon C, who says, what has Bowler Hatman and Graham said about the PIP stuff? I don't know.
I mean, Graham was on the Sunday roast getting angry about it, and I'm like, well, you got what you wanted. I've haven't put a video out for his members, but I'm not a member, so I've not watched it.
Yeah.
government bonds. That's really bad for her credibility.
So
and
that's
bad
when
for
the
government.
market takes a look at what any government's doing and says, oh, they look like a dodgy prospect.
Exactly.
Sasha, what did you make of what she had to say? Because, you know, again and again, she was defending making the national insurance rise for employers in the autumn budget, saying that's gone for money into the NHS. But, you know, not really accepting your point that she's made your life harder.
I had to write this down. She said she's looking at lowering costs for business. Well, to me, that shows how out of touch the Treasury actually are with businesses, especially small, medium businesses. At the moment, we've got the highest energy costs, wages, inflation, business rates, national insurance. 99% of operators are looking at raising prices. And I'd say to this Chancellor, if they really do want to help the fifth biggest industry in the UK, look at lowering VAT, lower it from 20% down to 12.5%, like they have done in Ireland and Germany. Rishi Sunak did that coming out of COVID. He reduced it to 5%, then 12.5%. That undoubtedly saved businesses and saved jobs.
It's interesting, though, you mentioned that.
Yeah,
That's
but
not a good plan, though.
he also got people to go into tight confined spaces with Eat Out to help out, which undoubtedly led to huge amounts of deaths and or avoidable illness.
Cuts to VAT, by the way, don't change prices at all because the price mechanism is supply and demand. You know, like that's what sets prices, not the overheads of the business. You know, if you cut VAT, businesses will just make more profits. That's all that will happen. You know, that it doesn't make the prices cheaper for anybody. If you do, I mean, I think it's reasonable to say that we have a problem with high energy prices. So maybe there should be a plan. I don't know, to invest a bunch of new money into massively expanding our capacity for renewable energy generation and getting rid of marginal cost pricing. It would be incredible if we had a government that had a plan to do that, then cut all the funding for it.
No. That would be wind Marxism.
Wind Marxism. Thank you, Proton Boss, for another 10 gift. That's incredibly generous of you. Thank you.
Kev's still suffering from his own choice. Yes, it's my own choice and my own laziness in not getting rid of the fucking sound. But you know what? I don't care. Like, I don't want to live in this country anymore anyway, so the heart attack killing me might be sweet release at this point, to be honest.
Happened during COVID. I mean, do you feel actually that it's like a sort of emergency for businesses in your sector now? Because obviously that was a drastic measure during a drastic time.
It's tougher in this industry now than it was during COVID.
Really?
Absolutely. At least during COVID, there was financial support there. There's none at the moment. And with the cost of living crisis, we know people are going out less. So they urgently need to look at the fifth biggest industry in the UK, because if they don't, we're going to see more closures post-April than ever before.
And Neil, I suppose what Rachel Reeves, though, was also saying is, look, if she doesn't guard the economy and try to balance the books, actually it's people at the sharp end who end up suffering. Do you have any sympathy with the fact that the government's got to make, it would say, has to make some very tricky decisions because of what they walked into?
Look, no doubt government are facing...
No, but it's a moral choice. He's morally deciding to fuck the disabled.
some really, difficult economic circumstances, but how they manage that risk is a political choice, Laura.
And governments to choose.
Right? And, we think they should be making decisions that don't make those who are already struggling to make ends meet even more worse off. Our client, Steve, he's been talking the last few days about the impact potential cuts could have on him. And literally, it will be a decision between heating and eating. The first thing that will go for him is heating and lighting. And I don't think that's how we should be treating disabled and ill people in our country. And to be honest, I don't think the public will fall for the fact that in the 6th largest economy in the world, we can't afford to support disabled people to live with.
I will just warn you. You are sat next to Robert Buckland. If you mention the poor dying in cold and dark, he might actually ejaculate everywhere. And you don't want that on the TV, do you, really? So, just be responsible with them.
Dignity.
Robert, where do you think this government is as a sort of political moment? So the spring statement, people might not be familiar with that term, but, it's going to look and feel a bit like a budget, but there won't be tax rises. Yeah. So, it's the new buzz phrase for a moment when the Chancellor stands up. It's a big moment for her, but where do you think this government is in terms of its sort of fortunes? 9 months, it's not far off a year in charge.
Well, I think it's, when it came in, clearly, it's reticent to tell us what it was going to do was the result of an absence of a plan. That is very clear. And I think in the first few months, they followed Treasury orthodoxy. They're following this sort of imposed Treasury view that you can only have one fiscal event in the year. But we're in a very difficult emergency situation, especially with the security position declining and Trump and his nonsense about tariffs, for example. Surely that calls now for bold action. And, you know, if you have 2 fiscal events in the year, well, you have to sometimes in order, as Rishi Sunak did, you know, just before COVID and then through the course of...
I think you mean Superman. We are on the BBC after all.
Of the last few years.
What do you mean by that then? Because, you know, you're a Conservative, you're talking about bold action. What do you mean? Because if you're Conservative talks about bold action, you might be cutting welfare much more stringently or cutting taxes to make it easier for business. What would you suggest?
We are an economy with a declining demographic. We have this problem of too many people who are economically inactive. There are plenty of ideas and plans out there. Most, you know,
I agree. There are far too many landlords. Yeah, no, true.
That's true. I mean, you said that just as Politico teacher pointed out that you can't fix the UK economy without taking on the parasitic rentier class, and I could not agree more.
True.
Had ideas about autism, for example, last year, which the government can use. What I'm not getting the sense from them is that they're really explaining this problem to the British people and saying, look, what we said at the election was one thing. We're now in a very different world. That may mean we have to actually increase taxes further in order to pay for defence.
Well, you'd put taxes up,
Well,
really,
look,
as a Conservative?
it's not for me. I'm a member of Joe Public. What I'm saying
You sound quite glad
is
not
that,
to have this problem.
well, look, I think the Chancellor's got boulders around her wherever she looks. I'm not suddenly saying that Sasha's come up with the idea about reducing VAT. That may be a runner. Some people say perhaps we should increase VAT.
How has he managed to squirm his way into this situation when he's not even in Parliament anymore? And he sounds like he's on the defensive all the time. He's fucking rubbish. Jesus Christ.
It's no wonder these guys got fucking destroyed. In the election,
Yeah, this is embarrassing. Fucking hell. You're on the sidelines and you're still somehow losing. You're not even in the game.
On certain things. You know, these are choices for the Chancellor to take. But there's no doubt at the moment that she's trying to square an impossible circle, and I'm not getting a sense from the government about how they're going to do that and why. Let's get back to the basic politics of this.
And you know, Laura, I think our clients would have a lot more confidence in other ill and disabled people if they heard government talk about the structural barriers within the labour market, the things that are preventing ill and disabled people from getting work and staying in work. And there's a role for business and employers in that. We're hearing too much about, vilifying and stigmatising ill and disabled people. They're people like you and I, people in our families, our communities.
No, I'm sorry, Robert. You don't get to nod your head at that point. Go fuck yourself. There is a reason that your friend Gideon was booed at the Paralympics. You fucking monster.
Yep.
I think we're a country that can afford to support them and have a social security that's there when we need it, most. And I would really encourage government to be thinking about, the wider issues around employment support and the barriers within the labour market.
Okay, well, let's hear what the opposition parties have got to say about what Rachel Reeves has been saying today, because you've probably noticed the Conservatives have been trying to distance themselves from their dismal election performance by...
I haven't noticed anything with the Tory party. Are they still a thing?
Apparently, they were the most successful political party of human history, but they can't be. Otherwise, I would have heard of them.
Yeah, exactly. No, that doesn't scan at all, because I don't know who these people are.
Ditching some of their old plans. Last week, Kemi Badenoch said hitting net zero by 2050 was impossible and could only be achieved with a serious drop in living standards.
No, I think you mean Lowe. Lowe says that. Fucking Bobby J says that. I don't know who this other person is that's saying this.
But it was, there she is, a Conservative Prime Minister, Theresa May, who made that target legally binding. And it was supported by the Conservative Prime Minister.
Isn't that just Jack Skellington? I think so.
Where a few of them, you'll remember, who came after her. Well, let's talk to Mel Stride, the Shadow Chancellor, and we'll talk about what Rachel Reeves was saying. But let's start with net zero, because this week, Kemi Badenoch said reaching net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050 was impossible. But this is on Europe.
So let's just burn the world down. Fuck it. Woo. What's your alternative here? Let's not try. What?
Well, her specific alternative was that we need to look towards market-driven solutions. When we've had the Conservatives in
Naturally.
government looking towards market-driven solutions for, again, the last 45 years, we've only been looking at market-driven solutions for anything. And at no point has it ever got us any closer to being free of fossil fuels, If anything, it's the country in the world that has the kind of the closest thing to the state ownership of large parts of the economy that is actually doing jobs, playing a role in trying to get itself out and trying to rapidly get itself out of using fossil fuels, which is China. Other than other countries that even the country that produces some of the most oil in the world, Norway, they still get all of their electricity from hydroelectricity, which is renewable, right? So their net zero gets passed on to other people because they all use their Norway's oil, well, they don't use it themselves,
Yeah.
But
they don't get high on their own supply.
No, very true, very true. But that's the thing, is that we need to have a market-driven solution. Well, then why did it not work for the last 45 years? Which is not 15 years.
Yeah.
Where the Tories pretended to care about this shit.
Yeah, my question is, if the free market could solve these problems, why hasn't it? It's had plenty of opportunity. It had plenty of chance to do these things, and it hasn't. It's not going to. And again, the Conservatives have learned nothing. We just need free market alternatives to everything.
A free market alternative to the free markets we've been doing since they were in government.
Yes.
Personal website at the moment, it says the target was feasible, deliverable, and can be met within the same cost. So is she wrong, or have you changed your mind?
So look, I think she is right in that if you look at particularly more recent data on the way that we would have a route to trying to reach net zero in 2050, that is an extraordinary stretch. I'm very proud, but just to finish, I'm very proud of the fact that under Conservative governments we have halved carbon at the same time as substantially growing.
I just want to point out, look at the difference between the colour of the top of his head and the start of his sideburns. You are not fooling anybody, Mr. Stride. That is shoddy.
So true.
The
so
Just
true.
for Men applicator also works on sideburns. Sort it out, mate.
The economy. But I think we have...
It's also worth pointing out a lot of the doomsayers about net zero say, it's going to make us all poorer forever. And I'm just like, well, you're going to be super fucking poor when things burn to a crisp, right? It's going to cost the state far much more to redo all of our housing to make ourselves in a position to deal with much hotter weather that we currently are not equipped to deal with. And then also have to just decarbonise anyway because all of the carbon has run out. Because that was what was profitable then, but isn't profitable moving forward. So the quicker that we move ourselves in a position where we're going to be ready for the future, the cheaper that it'll be long term. But obviously, of course, short-term profits are more important to the free market than long-term sustainability, which is why the state has a role in literally everything.
Now, you speak for yourself. I'm looking forward to it. As a person who lives on the Birmingham Plateau, soon I'm going to be living in a seaside situation with a fantastic view of the enlarged North Sea and eating tropical fruit or something. We're basically going to be like, Birmingham's going to be like Jamaica, but probably a lot whiter still,
Absolutely, absolutely. We're looking forward to the Birmingham Atoll.
Yeah, my beachfront property is going to be worth a fortune.
literally, Aquaman's going to be right up, banging at your door.
Yeah, exactly. Insert H-Bomber guy gif here.
We have to be honest about where we are right now, and you've been talking about some of the challenges worldwide, and energy, for example, sits right at the heart of that. And getting to a point where we can get energy costs down, for example, which are 4 times the level that they are in the United States and higher than a number of our European competitors, is important. And it's important for households who are listening to this programme.
That's sort of true. I'd love it when Americans complain about their gas prices. Do you know how much we pay for petrol here, you cunts? Like, for the amount of money you pay for a gallon, I couldn't drive 100 yards. You're a piss taker. Anyway, doesn't really matter.
In terms of getting those costs
but it's important
down.
But it's important also to know what the Conservatives really believe.
Yeah.
So your leader said this week it's impossible to reach net zero without a deep cut in living standards.
Yeah.
This is your website, and it's up there. We found it in the last couple of days. You're still saying it's feasible and deliverable. So have you changed your mind, or was that wrong and you wish you'd deleted
I think
it?
that was actually, to be absolutely strictly fair and accurate, from a little while ago. But the point is that we are now under new leadership. We recognise that when it comes to things like climate, look, as
Oh, so you're a massive cock who just takes everything the leader says? You're a little bitch.
Yeah.
You're a little bitch boy. Okay. No, cool.
Conservatives, it's in our DNA that we care about the environment. Margaret Thatcher...
Whoa! On what basis do you judge that? You haven't cared about anything but...
Margaret Thatcher, of all people.
Yeah, I know, mad. But also, like, since Maggie T, you haven't at all given a fuck about anything but the almighty pound note. That's it. You've placed no benefit, no worth on human life, quality of life, advancement of human, nothing. Let alone the environment. Fuck me.
In fact, was one of the first substantial politicians to raise the issue of climate change back in the 1980s.
Right, and she did fuck all about it. She was
raised
drill
the issue
baby
of climate
drill.
change. Yeah, she raised the issue of climate change and said we want to make this issue worse. You know, I'm joining the fight against. I'm joining the fight on polluters, on the side of polluters.
Literally.
It's in our DNA, but at the same time we have got...
She saw the size of the hole in the ozone layer and went, that's rookie numbers. We can get this better. Come on now.
Have a balanced approach in terms of, for example, as Sasha was saying earlier, the costs on businesses. We need to get those down. Now, we can't do that if we have energy costs that are 4 times that of the United States, or that we have an approach that this government has to oil and gas in the North Sea, where through the changes in the licensing arrangements, the exploration arrangements and tax, they're actually choking off that revenue stream, the employment and the security that comes with being able to generate own energy.
But let's just stick with this, because I think people want to understand, do you as a party no longer support the target which you put into law? You all voted for it in the House of Commons. Do you no longer support the law that says the UK must hit net zero by 2050?
Well, Kemi has made that very clear.
You don't support it.
But it's so dumb and annoying, because what's the punishment if that law is broken? Does David Cameron go to prison? Does anyone get fined? Are there any punishments whatsoever? No.
True. I mean,
so there's literally no fucking... If there's no deterrent involved in that law, then it's basically a worthless scrap of paper and you might as well wipe your ass with it.
Well, it's literally as much holding accountable as I'm sure Elon Musk and Donald Trump will be any day now.
Any day. Any day.
Anymore, and you would change the law, get rid of it.
Well, that's not the same thing as we don't support standing up for the environment, getting carbon down.
I know it's not the same.
But
so my question is, would you get rid of that law?
We're now into what will probably be another 4 to 4.5 years of opposition. We have the opportunity now to do the deep thinking around...
I like that he's gone with the minimum number there. Yeah, you stay optimistic, lad. You can definitely become government again. I trust you.
These kind of issues, to make sure that we come up with something that is feasible and is achievable. It may include targets, let's do that thinking, but as I say, we need to get that balance right between the extraordinary costs that we're facing as a country in this respect. You know, it's easier to get the early gains from reducing carbon. It becomes increasingly more difficult further on. If you look at the
It's also quite easy to vote for something, change the law in 2019, and then a few years later say, "Oh, maybe we don't mean that anymore."
If you look at the Climate Change Committee and their carbon budgets, and what they say, the kind of things we'd have to do to hit that target, it includes a 6-fold increase in offshore wind, a doubling of onshore wind. It includes carbon capture.
Yeah, we should fucking do that then. Why are you telling me this as if this is impossible? No, let's do those things. The things that they're saying we need to do. Yeah. Are we so incapable of anything in this fucking country? Oh, we're going to need to build things. Yeah, okay. Let's fucking build them then.
No, but have to go through like 3 layers of planning permission and then go through the local planning consent model and then also have to get a judicial review.
No, because I'm about to introduce into Parliament, because I am a member of Parliament after all, the Ralph Fiennes exemption, which is we're just going to build everything on his fucking front lawn. Everything.
True.
And the storage technology that we do not actually have operating at the moment. So the rollout of ground source heat pumps at a rate which, if it was continued at the current rate, would take about 300 years to meet the...
Okay, here's a funny one for you. Speed up then. If it would take us 300 years, that's clearly not going to be by 2050. Let's build them at a rate that we could get to it by 2050 then. You're not offering me anything other than just whinging at this point. You're saying, oh, well, we're currently not on a pace to reach it. Let's do better then. Rather than just going, oh, fuck it, we can't do anything. How about we have some fucking balls and say, yeah, let's do the thing. Let's fucking build the things we need to do. What?
Doing things, I think you'll find the government doing things is communism, Kevin.
That is true. I am talking. Yeah, it's wind Marxism again. Yeah.
Wind Marxism all over again.
2040 targets.
So it's very...
those are big challenges, which I think Kemi is right.
There are big challenges that you are shitting yourself and running away from. Honestly, you want to be Chancellor? I wouldn't trust you to tie my fucking shoelaces, you prick.
In the longer term, have been shown more recently to be unrealistic.
Okay.
And we need to get a better balance.
So you very clearly changed your position on that. So your website maybe needs
updating.
Well,
I think Kemi made the change of position clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have repeatedly criticised Labour's increase to national insurance for businesses, and we've been discussing that with Sasha this morning. But that tax increase is going to £20 billion extra into the NHS. So would you reverse that tax rise? And if so, would you then just take that 20 billion out of the health service?
Well, so I'm not going to make sort of big fiscal commitments 4.5 years before the next general election. But let's just...
Oh, I hate this. I hate all politicians. They're all fucking scum. Right, you are the person who wants to be Chancellor of the Exchequer. Having an opinion on the current policy of the current Chancellor of the Exchequer is what you are supposed to fucking do. You are the shadow to that person, to that portfolio. You are supposed to analyse the things they are doing and tell the country what you would do differently. And you're going, nah, I can't be bothered. I'm not going to make any fucking statement on that whatsoever. Why do you exist then? Why are we paying your fucking wages, you cunt? You're not achieving the thing that you are there to do.
Literally, and it's again, it's off the back of the fact that Kemi Badenoch is getting her own campaigners for the Conservative Party are getting mad at Kemi Badenoch because they're like, give us some policies, give us some positions, give us literally anything to campaign on. And she's like, well, if you can't campaign for you without positions, then I should just get somebody else. I'm just like, you are supposed to be you're supposed to be proposing an alternative prospectus for government in your shadow positions as an opposition party. You sit there being paid, as you say, as the official opposition to the government, to hold them to account and to propose an alternative, and you're sitting around doing fucking nothing, just fucking endlessly talking about the Chagos Islands.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous.
Have they considered attacking Doctor Who again? Because I feel like that's the really important thing that a shadow needs to do.
Look at that national insurance increase.
Well, no, hang on. The question here is a clear one.
Yeah.
You don't support the tax rise. Do you support the extra money for the NHS?
Right, so there are different ways of doing things. What we would have done is we wouldn't have taken the tax and spending decisions that this government took. We wouldn't have killed growth stone dead as a consequence
so
and
you
crippled
wouldn't have
businesses.
put 20 billion extra
we wouldn't have splurged lots of money.
But what we would have done is a mystery. You'll never know.
Literally.
What the fuck is
so
this?
stupid. And again, because I mean, if there's one thing that there's a line that the Labour Party have gotten correct, it's that the Conservatives never say what they do differently. They would never say because the people want there to be more government spending. Overwhelmingly, polling says people want there to be more government spending. And whenever they say, well, we would have raised these taxes, they never say what they would have cut in response.
Yeah.
That means higher inflation, which means interest rates coming down more slowly than they otherwise would have done. I noticed Rachel said interest rates have been cut 3 times. The point is that by stoking up inflation, actually, interest rates would have been cut quicker, faster, if they hadn't done that. So we would have taken different choices.
They haven't stoked inflation. What the fuck are you talking about? Bills went up on like energy and on water. That was what pushed up inflation. It's nothing to do with anything to do with what the state did.
Yeah.
Do you then not support the extra £20 billion that's going into the National Health Service?
So
the answer is no, he doesn't support that, but he realises that's electoral cancer. That's kryptonite. You can't say that. So I'm just going to dance around and not answer at all. Ooh, you can't force me.
You're trying to get me to zero in on a particular part of this government.
Because that's what our viewers want us to do, is zero in.
Yes, you are the fucking Shadow Chancellor. You are supposed to analyse the actual job the Chancellor is doing and tell us about that. Tell us what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, what you would do differently. I don't know why I'm having to explain Civics 101 to the Shadow Chancellor of the Exchequer. Honestly, you should be begging to tell me what your policy would be. You should be fucking clawing at the bit. You've got this national platform to tell me why you should be Chancellor. You should be fucking thrilled, not dodging it. You should be thrilled about that and say, this is what we'd do. This is the thing that we would do that's different to the current government. And try and sell me that as your prospectus for government. And instead you're going, I'm not going to answer questions.
And you should especially want to be able to. You should be absolutely champing at the bit to do it when the current government is fucking despised.
Yeah.
And it shows you just how terrible the Conservative Party are. Their approval rating is still lower. Their approval rating, both in terms of lower approval and higher disapproval, is lower than the current government. People fucking hate.
They've spent their
you can't I can't imagine why.
Yeah, they've spent their entire time in government, the Labour Party so far, freezing pensioners and having to go at fucking disabled people. Short of like punching puppies in the face, I don't know what they could do to be worse PR. And they're still somehow less hated than these wankers. That takes some doing. Honestly, we are seeing a generational talent in bad PR.
It's no wonder that Nigel Farage can just do some funny TikToks about woke milk and can be the leading fucking polling for the next Prime Minister. Because there's just no one. There's no one fucking... The current government are just destroying their own credibility, and the opposition have no credibility and seem to want to make it even worse. Like, of course Nigel Farage's going to waltz into number 10. He could pick a puppy. And you know what? Like, well, at least he's not the current lot.
At least he's not the Tories, yeah. Is he still doing his cameo stuff? Because if he's still doing like, I'm playing FIFA with Mo Lester and stuff like vegan sausage rolls for epic dub. If he's still doing that, if he's still shouting out Big Chungus on the regular, and he's leading in the polls.
Literally, we have a man who
wished a happy birthday to fucking Jerry Adams on Cameo.
Literally, he said up the raw. That they got broadcast Irish team. Like, he's such a fucking idiot, and he's gonna be the next Prime Minister.
It's very possible. Oh God. And 30p Lee's going to be Chancellor. Fuck yes.
Literally.
Accelerationism for the win.
Yes, but we've seen what the government's approach has led to, which is, we think, disappearing fiscal headroom and some very tough choices that the government's going to have to take next Wednesday. And that's because they didn't approach the economy in the right way. To get to your question, what they should have been doing, which is what we would have been doing, would have been to taking tax and spend decisions which encourage businesses to grow and generate the growth.
So his plan is, we would have had a plan. That's literally it. That's the thing he's trying to sell us. We would have done things differently. What things? Different things.
That has now been lost. We would have focused much more on productivity. So when you talk about the public sector, it's not so much the money you put in, or it's what you get out that really counts more than anything else.
Down during your 14 years in office.
In part as a consequence of COVID, you're right, and there are big challenges.
But I am going to have another go.
Further,
would you take that £20 billion out of the NHS?
So it's a question that, we're not in government. I'm not the person that holds the pen that takes that.
No, but you want to be. I'm going to have to explain this to you again, Rob. You're not listening. You're not listening, mate. You're not in government, but you want to be. So tell me why you think you should be.
Literally, as non-binary points out, right? At least Donald Trump had the concept of a plan. Exactly. This guy hasn't even got that.
This guy's literally like, I'm not going to tell you a plan. I'm not even going to tell you my concept of a plan to have a plan to have a concept of a plan. Good day to you, sir. I said good day.
That kind of decision. We would not have arrived in a situation where the economy at the moment is in a really vulnerable state, okay? We've got markets out there that are lending us a huge amount of money. We have an interest on our national debt, which is now about 100 billion a year, which is twice what we spend on defence. And part of that is because our borrowing costs have risen, part of which is due to the fact that the markets themselves are twitchy about the way the UK economy has been run over the...
I'm so glad we're run by these directly elected markets. I'm glad my market that I elected is now making decisions on my behalf. That's good. That's how democracy works, right?
Good.
Last
Good. Glad
9
to hear
months. So by having taken different decisions initially, we would have had a stronger economy and we would have been able to do a lot more things without the kind of problem.
Okay. What things would you have done, Robert? No, it's not Robert. It's Mel. What am I talking
Mel.
about? I'm thinking of Robert Jenrick. Oh, how terrible.
Robert Buckland.
Yes, possibly so. Yeah, Mel, what would you have done? Again, because you don't want to yes or no to 20 billion for the NHS. So what would you have done? Danced the fucking the cream fandango? What would you have done, mate?
Problems that we're seeing here.
Well, and of course everybody does remember what happened with the markets when Liz Truss was in charge, but I know that you were somebody who wasn't necessarily her biggest...
I was chair of the Treasury Committee and I had a lot to say about it at the time.
We are short on time. There are a couple of more things I just want to ask you. As you're here and one of your first times as Shadow Chancellor, I just wonder, Kemi Badenoch and other Conservatives have started to front up and say these were the mistakes we made. I wonder what you think the biggest economic mistake that you and Rishi Sunak made in government. You were part of his close team.
So, well, Rishi had a huge challenge because we had the aftermath of COVID. We had the inflation that was imported to our...
Yes, we know that you're going to make excuses. Could you actually answer one fucking question? Please, answer one question for me, Mel.
Shores because of the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. And that was a big challenge. And so I think we were right to have spent the investment of the money through furlough and so on. I think what we did was we stabilised the economy, actually. If you remember...
Oh, God! Oh, I'm so glad you're never being Chancellor, mate. The question was, what did you get wrong? And so far he said, we did a great job. We invested in Ukraine. We stabilised the economy. I'm sorry, was the question the opposite of the one I heard initially, or what?
Also, to claim you stabilise the economy when your party elected Liz Truss to be the fucking Prime Minister.
To be fair, she did murder the Queen, so that's good.
Did Mel Stride back Liz Truss as well?
Did he back Liz I don't think she did. No. I think he was. I think was he a Rishi guy, if I recall. I might be wrong. I don't know, but yeah, he was. I don't think he was a fan. In fact, virtually no one who was a Liz Truss fan is in the current cabinet, or shadow cabinet, I should say, which is understandable, I think. Especially as a lot of them have had to fucking leave now, either being voted out or stepped down or whatever. Anyway.
Mel Stride.
But when COVID first came along, the first thing economists said is that there will be mass unemployment, the scale of which we would not have seen in many, many generations. And we managed to avoid that, and we did that by intervening in the labour market in the way that we did. We also got inflation, of course, down from 11.1% back at the end.
What did you get wrong, you dopey bastard? Was the question.
End of 2022, down to bang on target of 2% on the day of the general election. So they were huge challenges, and I think...
True, Liz Truss did kill JFK as well. You have to read between the lines, but it's definitely there.
Yeah.
Those were challenges in that sense that were met. We had the fastest growing economy in the G7. We had near record levels of employment, near record low levels of unemployment.
Maybe you haven't quite reflected on whether there are any mistakes.
You know, on the day of JFK's assassination, there were 4 presidents, either current or future, in the city at the time.
I'm sorry?
There were 4 presidents in Dallas that day. There was JFK, Lyndon B. Johnson, George W. Bush Sr., and a very young George W. Bush as well.
What a missed opportunity.
Exactly.
To meet them all in one place at the same time.
Of all of the 4, you met the wrong one. Maybe. No, actually, no, he was fucking up Vietnam. Fuck him, yeah.
Literally it's so funny to me how everyone have harps on at JFK being this amazing president. I'm just like, you literally started Vietnam.
But he did the Ich bin ein Berliner. So it's fine. It's like always. It's like with, I don't know, people who like, I don't know, rock stars who commit suicide. It's the best thing that can happen for your reputation, because you don't get to see the inevitable like outcome of what they become later on. Like maybe Kurt Cobain would have supported the Iraq War. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know. So he just, people remember like, oh, rock star guy, you know. So JFK gets the bump.
Well, you mentioned some things there which I've commented in the past. So we certainly on in the past, which we certainly I recognise.
I just briefly want to ask you as we close. The Conservatives were very critical of Labour over some of the freebies that they took. Clothes, Keir Starmer's glasses.
Which is the biggest piss take ever. Like, literally ever. Maybe if Keir Starmer had got clothes for his mate down the pub instead, that would have been better. I don't know.
When they were first in office. We asked Rachel Reeves about concert tickets that she took a few minutes ago, but your shadow business secretary took gifts of ski passes and BAFTA tickets worth over £5,000 in total.
Jesus Christ!
They're all swimming in it.
£5,000? Where the fuck have you been going?
I mean, I'm assuming he's been going to the same kind of parties that Boris Johnson went to, where he must have met the sons of ex-KGB agents, you know?
Probably, yeah. So you're saying Lee Harvey Oswald wasn't trying enough? I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all.
Yeah, not saying that in the slightest. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's an outrageous and scurrilous accusation. I will see you in court, good sir. That's not true.
Is that okay?
Well, I don't know the specific details of that, or indeed the comments.
Do you know the specific details of anything? Like, at all, mate? You don't have an opinion on what the Chancellor's doing, except that generically she's wrong or something? And this, I don't know about this. Why don't you know about this? Have you not been briefed about this, or did you not listen during your briefing? Either way, someone fucked up. You're useless at this. You're bad at this, Mel. I want you to feel bad about this, because you should feel bad, because you are bad.
Honestly, literally, it's the fucking Mike Reid rapping bit all over again.
You know? It really is.
It's the reason why Keir Starmer is allowed to help arm a genocide, and Rachel Reeves is allowed to immiserate the disabled. It's just fucking opposition.
To be fair, at least Mal isn't doing it in a faux Jamaican accent. Although, you know what? You've got to say that would be a strong decision to make. I'm not saying it's the right decision, but like that would be a big, the big PR choice that you've made.
It'll certainly be a statement. Let's say that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You've got to respect the boldness, if nothing else.
You shared with Rachel just earlier. I think it's for them to justify what they do.
No, but your own colleagues.
Well,
I mean,
that's what we call throwing your colleague under the bus. You just saw there. It's not for me to have to justify their evil and terrible things. That's for them to decide. They're the ones that have to come out and defend that shit. You can't pin that on me, dickheads.
A lot of people just think.
Yes, I don't know. That's the first time I've heard that. I don't know the details, so I don't feel I'm in a position to comment specifically on that.
Okay, Mel Stride. Well, you've been in a position to
Literally,
spend your Sunday morning
he
with
said
us.
nothing.
Yeah.
He's been there 15 minutes. He said nothing. Literally nothing. He just said, I think they're bad. Opposition bad. I don't know. Maybe. Oh my God, fucking what the fuck is this?
Absolutely worthless human being. Really, just genuinely.
True. Just completely, just no positive contribution to humanity at all whatsoever.
And we're paying him 150 grand to do nothing.
Literally. Oh, dear Lord.
Stealing a living.
Literally.
Grateful for that. It's good to have you with us in the studio. Thanks very much indeed for coming in. Thank you. Now then, listening to Rachel Reeves and to Mel Stride is Daisy Cooper, the Lib Dems deputy.
Oh, sorry, I thought that was going to be, listening to these two may have made you feel suicidal. And if it is, here is the number for your local Samaritans. But unfortunately, it's Daisy Cooper, which is worse.
Leader and their Treasury spokesman.
I love it. The Lib Dems are still so shit they have to stand out in the fucking rain. Couldn't even find her a fucking TV studio.
Relegated to Harrogate.
Yeah, you're in the cook garden.
Listen, there she is in the drizzle in Harrogate at the Party Spring Conference. But there's some lovely daffodils to cheer us up behind her. Daisy Cooper, thanks very much for being.
Hang on a minute. It says so much. It says so much about the Liberal Democrats that they have their party conference in Harrogate.
Harrogate is a choice.
Unlike, at least the Tories like pretend to not be like that because they have their conference in Manchester, right?
Yeah.
But
Or
they
Brom,
relish-
they've done it in Brom before. Yeah.
they absolutely relish getting the backlash from going to deep red territory, right? Like fucking communist Manchester, you know.
Well, they did.
And
They came to Brom. Do you remember that was the one where Jacob Rees-Mogg got like verbally assaulted or whatever it was, and like you still didn't win a single seat in Birmingham. Well done.
And they're now even less. And they'll probably never win a season.
Oh no,
again now.
no, exactly. Or Manchester, yeah, but they'll still turn up. What, hoping to start a race war? I don't know. I don't know what they're trying to do. It's very strange.
Crazy, literally. And the Labour have their conference in Liverpool because they like to pretend that they care about about justice for the 9/7. But despite writing stuff in the Sun, you know, fucking Harrogate.
Harrogate. That is a choice.
With us this morning. Now, the Lib Dems today are talking about increasing what's known as the digital services tax, that tax on tech firms we were discussing with Rachel Reeves. Rachel Reeves said, you know, she was answering quite carefully on whether or not they might change that tax. What did you make of what she had to say?
Well, I'm deeply concerned that the government may even be considering reducing the digital services tax, because this is a tax wielded on sort of 20 of the largest online social media giants and search engines. And quite frankly, if the government is seriously talking about putting savage cuts in place that will affect disabled people whilst also giving a tax handout.
Exactly, and they're putting those savage cuts on the disabled, and they're not even getting a 5p bag tax for it.
Literally, they could have been exchanging this at an end of conference trade-off to try and get taxes for 5p bags.
Honestly, the Lib Dems can actually suck all of my arsehole.
And the irony is... The irony is that the point they're making is absolutely reasonable, that we should be getting rid of the digital services tax just to be able to posture ourselves for an FTA with the Americans, when we should be looking to Europe, unironically, which is the funny thing that the Lib Dems keep banging on about, you know. But you just cannot take the Lib Dems seriously since the coalition.
Oh, no justice FBPE, is it?
No justice. It's true. I am absolutely. I mean, I've been open. I think that in the wake of this breaking down of the relationship with America, we should be openly talking about rejoining the European Union.
We should literally, we are awash in sea, and we need any port at this point, and Europe is the only option we have.
Well, literally, we're getting to this kind of this multipolar world of powerful geopolitical blocks, and Blighty on its own is going to be a fucking walking target, isn't it?
Oh yeah, no, we get picked off like a fucking the runt of the litter. Yeah.
Musk and Zuckerberg and other US tech barons, then quite frankly, I think the Labour government are at real risk of losing their moral compass.
Well, she didn't rule it in.
They never had one. What are you talking about? They're at risk of losing their moral compass. The first thing they did was freeze Granny. Was their first policy.
And even before the election, you know, Keir Starmer just said, "Yeah, Israel can do war crimes. They have that right. They have that. Go on."
Excuse me. You use the wrong pronouns for Israel yet again. She has the right.
Oh dear Lord.
Also didn't rule it out, but for the Lib Dems to be suggesting that you should triple this tax from 2% on those farms to 6% at a time when actually businesses, large and small, many of them are having a very hard time, aren't you going to risk
hang on a
the
minute.
UK
Hang on a minute. Whoa. Businesses large and small having a hard time. You know, I can be sympathetic to the idea that small businesses are having a hard time right now. The idea that large businesses who are seeing record profits, especially the bloody tech giants who make money hand over fist and squirrel it away in their holding accounts in fucking Ireland, right? Don't try and tell me that the tech giants that would be targeted by these taxes are going to be under the cosh or going to be somehow hard done by. Don't piss on my face and tell me it's raining.
Zuckerberg is a small bean. Don't attack Jeff Bezos. He's just a little man. He's just a mom and pop shop.
Small Belon.
Small Belon Musk. Love it.
Attractive to business at a time when we can ill afford it.
Although, to be fair, Elon Musk, his tech bro-ness with Twitter has lost him billions. So, like, he is having a hard time of it, to be fair. But that's because of his own fucking actions. Nothing to do with government. He's just become a Nazi, and people don't want to buy his shit cars anymore.
True, sir. Thank you, Jack D, for the 1,000 bits.
Well, the digital services tax is only put on around 20 of the largest online social media and search engine giants. It doesn't affect small startups or small tech companies at all. You have to have at least 500 million in revenue to be affected by this tax, and we have one of the lowest taxes, digital services taxes, of any other country. Some other countries have it as high as 7.5%, and we think that this is just one example of where the government could
Even
raise
that's
more
cocked
revenue
as
by
fuck. Why is it 7.5%? Why is it as low as that? I don't mind having exemptions for small companies and startups or whatever, fine. But if you're a fucking Zuckerberg, why are we asking you nicely to pay 7, or that's the highest end is 7.5%. So what are we charging, 3% or something?
2%. The
2%.
The proposed tax is 2%, and that's what Labour think they might be cutting to try and get a free trade agreement with the USA.
2%. 2%. Literally, why not just let Zuckerberg fuck everyone's wife?
Exactly. Like, it's just what the point that Laura Koonsberg was trying to make there was that somehow I think it will be unattractive for the big tech giants to come to the UK, and I'm just like, well, they're already monopolies, but what they're going to do, just not trade in the UK.
Well, that's my point. I don't mind a bit of economic, this is going to be an unfortunate phrase, but a bit of economic nationalism on occasion, right? We say to them, if you want to do business here, you pay this rate of fucking tax. If not, fuck off.
Exactly. You can take the 6th largest economy and have zero access to it, you know?
Look, I'm not, and it doesn't have to be that punitive, but 2% is an embarrassment. That's fucking disgusting. The fuck is, that's nothing. We're taking some of the richest companies on earth and just going, nah, just fuck us. Just actually fuck us raw. Who cares? And we might even get rid of that. Fuck us raw whilst punching our dog to death. Like, what next? What else do we give up for America to not give us a free trade agreement anyway?
You know that's going to be the result, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Increasing the taxes on companies that are making billions and billions of pounds in profits, where it will make very little difference to them putting this tax up, but it will raise really valuable money to get our public services back on their feet.
But we know that Donald Trump in the White House is looking very, very carefully at where he's going to make it more expensive for countries.
He's not looking carefully at anything. The people who actually run the show. He's going like, he still has his mind blown that it's all computers at Tesla, right? That's what he's thinking about because he's got the brain of a fucking pigeon. The people behind him are doing this.
But he was looking very closely at the lunar eclipse.
He was. And he was looking very closely at the indecipherable symbols on that letter that was given to him. He didn't know what they meant. And so Keir Starmer read it out for him. But he was definitely looking very hard, pretending to read them. Whatever alien script that was in, who knows?
To do business. If some change to the digital service tax makes a difference to that, if it could prevent him slapping very expensive and damaging tariffs on parts of the UK economy, might not that be worth it?
Well, I think that Donald Trump is an unreliable and unpredictable partner to the UK. And I don't think it's a good strategy for us just to sit and cower in the corner and hope that Donald Trump is nice to us. That is not a good strategy. What we need to be doing...
Jesus, Laura Koonsberg, you've just made it look like the Liberal Democrat had a backbone.
I mean, literally, unironically, the Lib Dems are the people taking the lead on this, you know?
By comparison, though, like, it's tragic.
I mean, you can't really expect Daisy Cooper and Ed Davey to be, hard-headed... kind of forceful.
Yeah, that's the problem. What we need is someone to metaphorically man the barricades, and what we actually have is Ed Davey.
It's true. I mean, when our last bulwark against the American empire is Ed Davey saying, I think that he is an unreliable ally and we need to be looking towards a more constructive relationship. And I was like, no, tell the American empire to go shove itself, you know? There's a massive the Lib Dems have another good point, that there is a massive market on our front door that we should have access to and we should never have left, you know? And in a world where things are going to be much more unstable, it's not just an unreliable partner, they're an actively malicious partner.
Yes.
American corporations are going to cannibalize UK democracy and our economy if they get the free trade agreement that they want. It's already having meetings, people like BlackRock with the current government. If we want to have like actual, as you say, economic nationalism, you know, things being done in the interest of British people and the British economy, then we have to do it with a partner that actually cares about our economy rather than what they can extract from it, you know, rather than just bullying us with tariffs and then probably not giving us a particularly beneficial FTA anyway. Just tell them to fuck off, literally, both in terms of geopolitics, in terms of foreign policy, because God knows that every single foreign policy decision we've taken alongside the US over the last 40 years has been terrible. And on top of that, economically, it's terrible for us as well. Just we need somebody who actually is more of an iconoclast than Ed Davey. And the closest thing we have to an iconoclast is Nigel Farage, who literally wants us to become America's bitch.
Who's, way worse, yeah. But, I mean, you're going about our foreign policy. Don't you want to get your legs blown off fighting Iran for Israel?
Literally.
Just a quick shout out to Cenk Uygur and all those dickheads. How's your Donald Trump is the candidate of peace? How's that working out for you? Is that going super well, is it, chaps? Brilliant, thanks.
Is showing strength, which is the only language that Donald Trump understands. And we think there are two things we can do. One is to actually say, let's increase the digital services tax higher so that we can use that to protect our public services, which we need to strengthen in this country. But at the same time, let's also make sure that we're improving our trade relationship with the EU and having a better relationship to rip away the red tape that is holding back our small businesses and our high streets and make it easier for UK businesses to trade with Europe. We need, if we're going to have a deal with Donald Trump, we need to have other things on the table. We have to speak the language of strength. We can't just hope he's going to be nice to us.
But don't you also have to, in opposition, be in the real world of government? Try to imagine what it's like if the White House is asking for a concession in one area in order to save the economy.
Hang on a minute. No, the real world is that America fucking sucks.
Yeah.
It's the only fucking fantasy world is the world of our establishment politicians who believe that Atlanticism is somehow like a divine right of our elected government, right? So it is a duty. They believe that Atlanticism is a duty.
Non-negotiable.
Yeah, there's no negotiating Atlanticism as a concept, right? That's a fantasy that you live in. Everybody else realizes that actually that is a decision that can be made and can be revoked at any time. And we can start looking towards something different, like Europe, like China, like literally anybody other than Donald Trump.
And it's not even a choice we get to make anymore because, like you say, we could have revoked it at any point and didn't. America now has. The decision has been made for us, so we have to look elsewhere. But you still got these fucking dickheads, like, pretending like the game hasn't changed. Whereas what Donald Trump has done is come along and, like the pigeon, playing chess, has just knocked over the pieces and shat everywhere. And Keir Starmer's just like, oh, rock to king too. Like, why are you carrying on playing? The game's over. Dickhead.
The thing is,
a huge amount
is that the current cabinet and a lot of the people at the top of the Labour Party is stacked with people from like the Britain America Project, right?
Yep.
And people from Five Eyes, and Keir Starmer himself was in the fucking Trilateral Commission.
Indeed.
Right? These people are just, it's full to the brim with, again, like ideological antithetists who, despite everything that's happening, no matter how bad it is for British people, the British economy, or the world at large, will sell us out to American interests quicker than they would sell off their own fucking, I don't know, I can't think of an analogy.
We know the point you're making, yes.
Yeah, they would sell off. They would sell off for anything.
They would sell it off quicker than the Tory selling off a public asset.
Literally.
in another. Isn't that something that actually the government has to take seriously?
Well, of course they have to take it seriously. The question is how they respond. And if you look at countries like Canada and Mexico, you know, they neighbour the USA. They have trade deals and they haven't escaped tariffs. And you can look at other leaders.
Oh, did you see our friend Mark Carney has called a snap election in Canada?
Oh, yay.
Interesting times.
I mean, watching Pierre Polyev get destroyed is going to be.
Well, that's
like get the limpest of possible.
Oh no, it's
inflammation.
exactly. It's thumbing in a softie at best, but it's something at least. Like, and it's smart politics. He got in. The polls aren't going to get much better, you don't think?
No.
So, yeah, do it now. Whilst Poilievre has to pretend he hasn't been dancing on Donald Trump's dick for the last few years. Like, yeah, come on now.
You know, particularly in Canada, other world leaders are talking tough and they are standing up to Donald Trump, and that's what we think, we Liberal Democrats think.
Who are
the
these
government should be
people?
doing in this country?
Can you just certainly in the West, let's say, who are these politicians who are standing up to Donald Trump exactly? I've heard some really, really limp shit from some of them, and that's better than nothing, but I don't know about standing up to him. I mean, it could be worse. You could be a country that's literally just invited him for a fucking state visit, I guess.
That's why we're calling on the government to have a better trade deal with the EU, to make it a priority to develop a customs union by...
True, but if this hadn't happened, you'd be calling for the exact same thing. Like,
It's
it doesn't hold much weight when your only answer to everything is, "Can we be closer to Europe, please?"
Yeah, it's a real kind of stopped clock, right?
Yeah,
Stop
it
clock
is.
moment. Like they're constantly hammering the join EU button, and now there's a geopolitical crisis, and it actually is now relevant.
Yeah. Oh no, don't get me wrong. I think they've got a point, but it's it's a little bit boy who
Funny.
cried wolf.
Boy who cried rejoin.
True.
2030, which will help reduce the cost of business for small businesses here in the UK, and at the same time to increase the digital services tax to raise valuable money that could be used for defence or public services or anything else.
Daisy Cooper, it's great to have you with us. Thank you for braving the rain in rainy but nonetheless lovely Harrogate. It's good to have you.
Unfortunately, the best politician we've heard today. And that
Literally.
makes me
Oh God,
feel
it's so
slightly
depressing.
sick, actually. Yeah.
You with us on the programme, and we'll watch carefully what happens with the digital services tax. Now then, cast your mind back. March 23rd, 2020. What had started
I don't
off
know about you,
seeming like an
Kev.
obscure
I can give a shit about this.
What is it?
Them talking about, remember what it was like during the pandemic.
Oh no, fuck that. No, I'd literally rather just go to sleep.
Same.
Yeah.
I'm very tired.
Yeah.
I think we should raise into Mooncat because she seems to always be live on the Sundays after we've done Laura Koonsberg.
Yeah, I've gone.
And that is
down for that.
And that is a lot of clout that we can farm.
True, and they're good. It's not.
I mean, she's fantastic. I also love Mooncat for the similar reasons, but also do enjoy some clown.
Who's going on YouTube though?
I'm also going to go to Mooncat on the YouTubes as well.
Am I not subscribed to? Do they have a live channel? Because I don't see them.
It's called Mooncat After Dark.
Oh, okay. Well, that's why I'm not. Oh, hang on a minute. Mooncat. I still don't see them. Fuck it, I'm sending you into President Sunday. I can't be bothered.
No worries. Well, anyway, thank you very much, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm assuming you will as well.
Will I be back tomorrow? Yes, I'll be back. I think possibly with Christy because we missed Friday, unfortunately. So yeah, I should be back tomorrow with her. Everyone go and follow No Justice MTG on all of the platforms.
Or KF Logo 175 on Twitch, go follow, and Ploppy111 over on the YouTubes, and not KF Logo 175 over on the Twitterinos as well.
See, I don't even remember any of that. It's brilliant. Anyway, yes, Free Palestine.
Free Palestine, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.